These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More information at hellofresh.com, code TOM. CB Distillery for sleeping and pain relief. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. Dinovite, only the best all-natural pet supplements. More info at dinovite.com. Annie's Kit Clubs, creativity delivered right to your door. More info at annieskitclubs.com/Tom. Wild Alaskan Company, delicious, sustainably sourced seafood delivered right to your door. More information at wildalaskancompany.com/Tom. And Mack Weldon, reinventing men's basics. More info at mackweldon.com/Tom.
We say fight back!
I would like to have a conversation with those of you who have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV. In fact, in particular, to those of you who have never contributed to Free Speech TV. I know, I see you. I know you're out there. How about helping out, huh? There's two ways you can help. Number one, help bring in new viewers. Let people know about Free Speech TV. Get friends of yours, look for programs that you think will really resonate with your friends and tell them about it. We need to expand the viewer base of Free Speech TV, number one. Number two, call 877-378-8669 and say, finally, I've been watching this show or I've been watching this network for years and years and years, or months and months and months, whatever it may be, and I've finally decided that I'm going to help out. That I want to be part of the solution, as it were, and make a contribution. It's painless, relatively speaking. It doesn't hurt. It's not having teeth pulled, to give your credit card number or mail a check in or whatever, however is easiest for you. But Free Speech TV is sustained by its viewers, and one of the things that we know is that the vast majority of viewers, well over 90%, probably well over 95%, and this is not unique to Free Speech TV, this is true of all viewer or listener-supported media right across the board, never help out, never kick in. There's a lot of folks who just, enjoy the program, but think, it just kind of magically happens. And that's the thing. If you want, watered down coverage that is highly sensationalized and that doesn't take on tough issues that might chafe the opinions or the attitudes or hurt the feelings, shall we say, of the insurance industry or the pharmaceutical industry or whoever happens to be advertising on TV these days, then you've got commercial television. And you don't have to pay to watch commercial television outside of your cable fees or whatever it may be. But if you want to have an actual discussion of real topics that may not, that may cause some discomfort in corporate boardrooms or a little dyspepsia among the billionaire class, it's going to require all of us to make that happen. And that includes you, who have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV. So let me encourage you to make your very first contribution to Free Speech TV today. Chip in, help out. Become part of the solution. It doesn't mean you're part of the problem if you don't, but become part of the solution. Free Speech TV is part of the solution to what ails America. It's waking people up spreading good, solid, verifiable, honest information. We are so rigorous here about making sure that everything we say can be backed up. And on the occasion when I get something wrong, I go out of my way to make it clear on the air. Oops, I said this wrong. Here's the correction. Yesterday, I got Medicare Part A and B mixed up. Checked it during the break, corrected it afterwards, for example. So, if you value that, if that's a value to you, have that kind of a resource to use, whether it's debating crazy Uncle George or just knowing what's going on in the world, please pick up your phone right now and call 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV and help keep this network going. There are premiums. With a $20 gift, you have your choice between the Free Speech TV sticky sticker or the Free Speech TV clingy sticker, the kind of window sticker, the clear sticker. With a $50 gift, there's the very cool Free Speech TV canvas tote bag in 2 different models. With a $75 gift, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Thom Hartmann Program, the official Free Speech TV Thom Hartmann Program mug, available only right here, right now. With a $100 gift, there is the Free Speech TV customized notebook and pen or the Free Speech TV socks. With a $120 gift, there is a copy of my book, my new book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, how sickness bankrupts you and makes others insanely rich, autographed by the author, or the Free Speech TV t-shirt. It's with a $120 gift. With a $240 gift, join us on Zoom, on a Zoom call, for a virtual meet and greet, kind of an Ask Tom Anything moment. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University gift box, the socks, the bumper sticker, the Hidden History of Healthcare, autographed by the author, the Free Speech TV mug, and the hat. And with a $1,000 gift, there is the get-together here in Portland that, wow, it's been like a year and a half since we've done one of these, but they're always so fun and so interesting, and you get to meet some really great people, and you will too, once the general COVID insanity is over. So you can get in line. 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your donation during this program while we're on the air. 877-378-8669 is the number. But please, in particular, I know that those, many of you have already given to Free Speech TV, and that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling that you get, that feeling like, wow, I'm like kind of an owner of this network. I'm a participant in it. I'm helping make this happen. Well, to those of you who have not yet donated, do it now and get that feeling.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
And greetings, my friends, patriots, lovers of democracy, truth, and justice, believers in peace, freedom, and the American way. Thom Hartmann here with you. We got a lot on the program today in our third hour Geeky Science. The majority of young people think humanity is doomed. We'll get into that. And Fox News has freedom. Why can't the rest of America have freedom, too? I'll explain. In our second hour, the Texas abortion hypocrites don't care about post-birth children. And Dr. Richard Wolff is going to drop by. What happens if the Republicans force the government to default with this whole debt ceiling hysteria when the economy is already suffering? Is this going to be their new strategy to try to crash the economy so that they can win elections in 2022 and 2024? We'll get into that in our second hour. But our first hour here, Congressman Mark Pocan is with us for the full hour, taking your calls. Middays with Mark here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Congressman Pocan represents the 2nd District of Wisconsin. He's a member and former co-chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus. He's on the Appropriations, Education, and Labor Committees. Website Pocan, POCAN.house.gov. You can tweet him at Rep. Mark Pocan. And Congressman Pocan, welcome back to the program. Glad to have you with us.
Thanks, Tom. Glad to be here.
There's a joke for the day. The Mu variant is on its way. That's the bad news. The good news is maybe ivermectin will treat it. Or drum roll. Sorry.
Yeah.
By the way, earlier in the week, I had reported that ivermectin makes men sterile. It turns out that study is nonsense. But let's not anybody take any ivermectin. It's just not, unless you have parasites. Anyhow, what's at the top of your list for the day?
Those are things I never thought I'd have to say a few months ago, right? Warn people not to take animal medicine. But, the big thing really is just keeping people very aware that the next 2 to maybe 3 weeks, maybe some of the most significant time in this Congress, and for that matter, for Congress for several decades, in getting the Build Back Better plan done, getting it done right, and getting the infrastructure bill done. The important part is the Build Back Better plan. Right now, Republicans are not expected to be helping this get done, but this is a bill that will lower cost for the average American. Everything from prescription drug prices to paid leave, universal child care, universal community college, expanding Medicare. There's a lot of things that are going to save people, real people, money every single day. There's also a tax cut. By extending the child tax credit, the tax cut, most people we'll see who have children will get a essential tax cut from that. We also are creating millions of jobs, many that focus on climate change, and it's paid for by the wealthiest and big corporations that either pay no taxes or hide their money overseas. This truly is a game changer of a bill. Just the child tax cut part alone will lift half of the children in this country out of poverty. So we're going to need people to be very active on their phones, to be pressuring their members of Congress to do the right thing. The special interests are cranking up for everything from advertising to lobbyists knocking on doors. We need to crank it up as a citizenry. If you think that lowering your costs as an American, finally focusing on the average person, like this bill does, the Build Back Better bill in particular, we've got to really make sure that we're holding our members accountable. And some of even the Democrats who are, listening a little too closely to the special interests, we got to put the pressure on them, and we got to put it on them hard. They need to get your calls. Yeah, absolutely. And the telephone number for Congress, for the switchboard for Congress, is 202-224-3121. If you're not sure who represents you, just give them your zip code. They'll connect you. In the House, if you're not sure who your senators are, tell them what state you live in, and they'll connect you as well. And spot on. If I can, Tom. Go ahead. Oh, I'm sorry. One thing, too, that's real important. I've had some people, including some Democrats, say, well, they're just trying to compromise. You have to compromise to get something done. This bill started at $6 trillion. That's what Joe Biden wanted. Thanks to Bernie Sanders and others who helped negotiate this, we're at $3.5 trillion. So it's already just a little over half of what Joe Biden wanted. To go any more to make Joe Manchin or Kyrsten Sinema happy when they've already watered down an infrastructure bill would be a really awful idea, because you're not going to have universal child care if you have to water this bill down anymore. You won't have universal community college if you have to water this bill down anymore. So it's real important that people understand this is a compromise, and Bernie Sanders did, I think, an amazing job in working on this compromise. Progressives have his back in the House on this compromise, but this is already a compromise, and to go any more isn't a compromise. It'd be really gutting the bill. Yeah, and let's remind people that this is $3.5 trillion over 10 years. That's $350 billion a year. That's like, what we used to spend in Iraq and Afghanistan, what we're still spending in Iraq, but what we used to spend on those two wars in just a couple of months every year. So, I mean, it's just like this is really not something to get your hair on fire about, unless you're a Republican, of course. Which brings me to my second question for you, if you don't mind my asking you to put your political analyst on. You are one of the more thoughtful and insightful political analysts, or people. You're in the business, but I really value your opinions on this. When we look at what happened in California yesterday, this blowout, it appears to me, my take on it is that this was not so much a vote for Gavin Newsom, although people generally speaking, like the way that he's been governing California. And obviously the post-election polls showed that people were very supportive of his mask mandates and his vaccine mandates and whatnot. But it seems like it was more an anti-Larry Elder, which means kind of anti-Donald Trump wing of the Republican Party reaction than it was a pro-Newsom action. Or at least that was a big piece of it. Let's not, I guess you can have both at the same time. And it does, A, I'm wondering if you agree with that analysis, and B, if so, doesn't that inform the Democrats moving forward, particularly since Republicans, as we're seeing with Kevin McCarthy, who originally was
speaking out against Donald Trump on January 6th and now is sucking up to him because he's afraid of a primary in his own district. Doesn't that mean that most of the Republicans in their primaries are going to have to go full Trump to get elected by the base in their primaries? And that's going to make them very kind of Larry Elderish, very vulnerable in the general election. Is this good news, or am I congratulating way too way too early here?
No, I completely agree with you. I don't think there were a lot of pro-Gavin votes. There were a lot of anti-Trump 2 votes. And that's how the campaign really was run in the final weeks, that this was just a Trump light. You're going to get another Trump governance, this time as a governor. And I think that absolutely was the messaging, and we saw that resoundingly turned down. And I also agree with you that the reason that Republican leadership, not that Kevin McCarthy is like an intellectual heavyweight anyway, or has a spine made of much, something more substantial than Jell-O, but he does have to, as most Republicans, have to appeal to Donald Trump because of primaries. Because don't forget, 20% of the people may vote in a primary, but if that 20% of the people are voting and a majority of them are the more right-wing, Q-leaning type folks, they've got to keep Donald Trump happy, or else he can cause all sorts of problems. So you're right. Republicans are going to have to tack right in primaries and then try to suddenly do a number of somersaults to get back to the middle. And that's not the easiest task. If you've looked at most people who run for Congress, they're not exactly somersaulters. They're going to have a tough time in making that case.
Yeah, they used to have to do it with just one issue, like abortion or gun control or something, and they'd run on that in the primaries, and then they kind of back away from it in the general. But now, this is so systemic. It's so big. Okay, so shall we pick up our phone calls here?
Absolutely.
All righty. Steve in Queensbury, New York. You are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hey, Mark, you are a good guy. You know that?
That's true.
Thank you, Steve.
But what I wanted to ask you is, why don't we go after these corporations that aren't paying any money, some of them? We have to go after the big money people because they're running the show anyhow. So let's get some of their money and pay for
Steve,
the poorer people,
That's exactly what Joe Biden's doing. The $3.5 trillion that's in the Build Back Better plan, a lot of the revenue that Bernie Sanders helped negotiate is exactly doing that, going after corporations that, one, pay no taxes, or two, hide their profits overseas. And don't forget also the Biden administration got together with other countries and helped form kind of a pact that they're not going to all have a race to the bottom and give no taxes to these companies, but actually they're going to have some kind of a minimum tax and they're going to stick together. And if they actually do this, again, another prop to Joe Biden for finally going after folks that aren't paying their fair share. So that's the whole premise. The only people opposing good things in that bill are the people who have to pay for it, the special interests. So any Democrat or Republican who doesn't support what's in that bill is essentially kowtowing to the special interests.
Right. And rather than framing it as let's take money from the rich, I think it should be the rich should be paying their fair share of taxes, right?
Absolutely. And they haven't. Between the Trump tax cut for the wealthiest, 86% of the money going to the top 1%, and many other measures.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Amen. Congressman Mark Pocan taking your calls for the hour. It's 16 minutes past the hour. I'll be right back. And welcome back. Abby in La Crosse, Wisconsin. You are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Congressman. Every time I hear talk about the reconciliation bill, I want to scream at the radio because everybody says it's $3.5 trillion without saying it's $3.5 trillion for 10 years, and then emphasizing that $350 billion per year is paid for in the reconciliation bill. And when you compare that to the defense budget, which is $700 billion a year, nobody says, how do we pay for that? And the reconciliation is only half of that. So my question is, what can we do to improve the messaging on this? People hear $3.5 trillion, and they think $3.5 trillion for 1 year, not for 10 years.
Yeah, great point, Avi. First, I'm going to do one minor correction. Defense bill is more like $770 billion, so you're about 10% off. But $70 billion adds up, especially when we're trying to use it for things like vaccinating the world and other things that need to get done. But you're exactly right, and that's why I always, when I talk about the bill, I talk about the important part is it's paid for. It's not going to be paid for by the people who are largely getting the benefits because we've already paid for an awful lot. This is being paid for by tax fairness, by having the wealthiest in those corporations that don't pay taxes and hide their money overseas paying for it. And I think that's the most important. I'm not sure if the accounting of over 10 years is as persuasive a message, because I think when you get to big numbers, they're just big numbers. But I think when you say this is a bill that you're not going to pay for, that we're making the wealthiest and the big corporations pay their fair share for, and then explaining that really is I think the clincher, and it should be a part of the bill. So when we talk about it, I say it's going to lower the cost for American families, and I explained the various ways from universal child care to the expansion of Medicare, et cetera. It's going to tax break for people with children through the child tax credit. It's going to create millions of jobs with especially tackling climate change, and it's paid for. Those are the four simple points about the bill, and it's really hard for anyone to disagree with that unless you're one of those special interests that's trying to continue avoiding paying taxes, and you're going to then have your lobbyists running around Washington with their heads cut off, trying to make sure that they've got someone to listen to them. And unfortunately, there are even people within the Democratic Party who will listen to them.
Yeah, and speaking to that, Congressman, we just have a little less than a minute before the break. I saw a TV shot this morning of a particular senator from Arizona going into the White House to meet with President Biden. A couple of days ago, it was reported over at Rolling Stone magazine, actually, that Joe Biden had reached out to Chuck Schumer and said, if you need me to start twisting arms, I'm ready to start. It looks like he started. Any thoughts on that?
I'll tell you, something I have found with the Biden administration that I really respect, and I didn't know about him prior to him getting elected, is he really does focus on the individual one-on-one private conversations much more than the public fight. And he does this in diplomatic ways with other leaders of other governments. He does this in lobbying Congress, and he's very effective by doing that. Rather than picking a public fight, he would rather have a very sincere and maybe hard conversation with folks. And if he needs to, then he cranks it up the next level. But he is very persuasive, and he absolutely wants to do this. Don't forget, his plan was $6 trillion. So he wants to make sure he gets the lion's share of it, and that's what he's working on.
Yeah. Well, let's hope he can go all LBJ on these guys.
I hope so.
There you go. All righty. Congressman Mark Pocan is with us for the hour, taking your calls. Middays with Mark on the Thom Hartmann Program. We'll be back with more of your calls for Congressman Pocan in just actually 1 minute. I've got to read an ad over on the commercial side and pay some bills here. You'll hear a promo on this end. We'll be right back. Change starts with you. You can be calling your Democratic or Republican representatives to let them know what you think by calling 202-224-3121. It's the Capitol switchboard. It'll get you right through to them. So back in the day, and I mean back in the 1780s, literally, when the Constitutional Convention was happening in Philadelphia in the summer of 1787, there was this debate about the quality of the vote. Whether people who only landowners should be allowed to vote, stuff like that. And, in order to ensure that well-informed people who really care about voting are the only ones voting. It didn't pass. It was rejected by the framers of the Constitutional Convention, this idea that only landowners should be allowed to vote. Never made it in the Constitution. But a variation on this is now being proposed in the Arizona legislature. And State Representative John Kavanaugh, who's the chair of the committee that's pushing this legislation, says the quality of the vote is important. We have to look at the quality of votes as well. I've got a new video all about this for the supporters of our program over at thomhartmann.com. Check it out. And welcome back. Picking up your calls here, Middays with Mark. Congressman Mark Pocan taking your calls for the hour on the Thom Hartmann Program. Dale in Springfield, Missouri. You are on the air with Representative Pocan.
Congressman, I like hearing from you every week. It's refreshing.
Thank you, Dale.
My point, I live in Missouri. My senators are Hawley and Blunt. So you know how much my writing them would carry. Does it do any good to write or contact representatives that I'm not their constituents? Does it do any good if you were to hear from me?
Dale, that's a great question, and in rare circumstances, the answer is yes. Most of the time, no, because I represent right now. Actually, my district, I have to shed 52,000 people with redistricting, but I represent about 800,000 people right now. And with the limited staff I have a hard enough time just keeping up with my constituents. So generally, people don't keep track of the calls coming from outside the district. The rare times it may happen is maybe with some leadership folks, so they can really see the intensity that's out there in the country. But what you can do is if you have groups you work with, associations you might be a part of, have them focus on those members that we need to. So, you know, when Josh Gottheimer from New Jersey is trying to do the wrong thing, in my opinion, right now, it would be great if we got people in his district reaching out to him saying, hey, quit listening to the special interest in Washington. I'm a constituent, and I don't think you're representing me right now. That's where we really need to have the impact. So using that ability with any groups you may work with, that's what I recommend. But that's a great question, Dale, because I know a lot of people will call from outside the district, and it's not that they don't care what you have to say. It's just often we don't have the capacity to keep track of it.
But for somebody who is represented by somebody like Josh Hawley or Roy Blunt,
still reach out to them.
Yeah. So yeah. Does it have? I mean, like, you know, when you hear from conservatives, for example, in your district, how does that affect or influence you? When Josh Hawley hears from progressives in Missouri who actually live in Missouri, how does that affect them? And what's the best way to reach out to members of Congress who politically disagree with you?
Yeah, I still think you do that, right? Because I keep track, and I'll get counts every single week of who reached out to me on what position. And, you know, I do gauge whether or not I'm truly representing my district by that. So if they don't hear from you, now, Josh Hawley is a wannabe president, so I doubt he's watching it as closely maybe as Roy Blunt. But it's important to also put that call or that email in to, even if you think they disagree with you, it's important to have those calls made so that they get the numbers, and you can still have an impact. Maybe not as direct in public, but you will have an impact by doing that.
There you go. Ron in Wichita Falls, Texas. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hey, Mark. Hey, Tom. Great to hear from you. I love to see you every week, Mark. I have an idea, and I'm wondering what you think of it. You know the carbon tax credits, or the carbon credits that the corporations get, and then they get to wheel and deal back and forth to decide, you know, how many they need and so forth. What if we took at least a portion of them and gave them one credit to every man, woman, and child that doesn't make $1 million or more, makes less than $1 million, and they can sell them to the corporations. They can keep them, they can hold them, they can not sell them, or they can sell them to the corporations that are doing the best job of converting us over to non-carbon-based fuels. And, you know, not only would it push some money into the economy from the wonderful gifts we give the corporations every year, but it would, you know, help the economy, it'd help the individuals, and we'd still have the program for the corporations.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah, Ron, I think you're onto something, but slightly different. I think that particular credit is used to get people to divert. So if you didn't have it go to the company, they might not do some of the better policies we need to get done around climate change. What I would argue, and I think really what may be a better way of accomplishing exactly what you want, is by maybe having a carbon tax, where we're actually saying, okay, we got to expedite this process to get to address climate change. And if we actually tax that carbon, then you'd have a better ability to make companies maybe more aggressively try to create change. So I think you're generally right, but if you take that away, I think it actually might have a negative impact. But I think you could do it by having something in place like I just mentioned.
And then you could take some of the revenue from that tax and give it back to low-income people who are hit by it.
Absolutely, because if people aren't going to do that and addressing climate change, which will benefit all people.
There you go. Congressman Mark Pocan with us for the hour. Middays with Mark.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Representative Pocan's website, Pocan, pocan.house.gov. You can tweet him at Rep. Mark Pocan. We'll be back with more of your calls right after this. I would like to have a conversation with those of you who have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV. In fact, in particular, to those of you who have never contributed to Free Speech TV. I know, I see you. I know you're out there. How about helping out, huh? There's two ways you can help. Number one, help bring in new viewers. Let people know about Free Speech TV. Get friends of yours, look for programs that you think will really resonate with your friends and tell them about it. We need to expand the viewer base of Free Speech TV, number one. Number two, call 877-378-8669 and say, finally, I've been watching this show or I've been watching this network for years and years and years, or months and months and months, whatever it may be, and I've finally decided that I'm going to help out. That I want to be part of the solution, as it were, and make a contribution. It's painless, relatively speaking. It doesn't hurt. It's not like having teeth pulled, to give your credit card number or mail a check in or whatever, however is easiest for you. But Free Speech TV is sustained by its viewers, and one of the things that we know is that the vast majority of viewers, well over 90%, probably well over 95%, and this is not unique to Free Speech TV, this is true of all viewer or listener-supported media right across the board, never help out, never kick in. There's a lot of folks who just, enjoy the program, but think, it just kind of magically happens. And that's the thing. If you want, watered-down coverage that is highly sensationalized and that doesn't take on tough issues that might chafe the opinions or the attitudes or hurt the feelings, shall we say, of the insurance industry or the pharmaceutical industry or whoever happens to be advertising on TV these days, then you've got commercial television. And you don't have to pay to watch commercial television outside of your cable fees or whatever it may be. But if you want to have an actual discussion of real topics that may not, that may cause some discomfort in corporate boardrooms or a little dyspepsia among the billionaire class, it's going to require all of us to make that happen. And that includes you, who have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV. So let me encourage you to make your very first contribution to Free Speech TV today. Chip in, help out. Become part of the solution. It doesn't mean you're part of the problem if you don't, but become part of the solution. Free Speech TV is part of the solution to what ails America. It's waking people up, spreading good, solid, verifiable, honest information. We are so rigorous here about making sure that everything we say can be backed up. And on the occasion when I get something wrong, I go out of my way to make it clear on the air. Oops, I said this wrong. Here's the correction. Yesterday, I got Medicare Part A and B mixed up. Checked it during the break, corrected it afterwards. For example. So, if you value that, if that's a value to you, have that kind of a resource to use, whether it's debating crazy Uncle George or just knowing what's going on in the world, please pick up your phone right now and call 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV and help keep this network going. There are premiums. With a $20 gift, you have your choice between the Free Speech TV sticky sticker or the Free Speech TV clingy sticker, the kind of window sticker, the clear sticker. With a $50 gift, there's the very cool Free Speech TV canvas tote bag in 2 different models. With a $75 gift, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Thom Hartmann Program, the official Free Speech TV Thom Hartmann Program mug, available only right here, right now. With a $100 gift, there is the Free Speech TV customized notebook and pen or the Free Speech TV socks. With a $120 gift, there is a copy of my book, my new book, the
Hidden History of American Healthcare, how sickness bankrupts you and makes others insanely rich, autographed by the author, or the Free Speech TV t-shirt. It's with a $120 gift. With a $240 gift, join us on Zoom, on a Zoom call, for a virtual meet and greet, kind of an Ask Tom Anything moment. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University gift box, the socks, the bumper sticker, the Hidden History of Healthcare, autographed by the author, the Free Speech TV mug, and the hat. And with a $1,000 gift, there is the get-together here in Portland that, wow, it's been like a year and a half since we've done one of these, but they're always so fun and so interesting, and you get to meet some really great people, and you will too, once the general COVID insanity is over. So you can get in line. 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your donation during this program while we're on the air. 877-378-8669 is the number. But please, in particular, I know that those, many of you have already given to Free Speech TV, and you know that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling that you get, that feeling like, wow, I'm like kind of an owner of this network. I'm a participant in it. I'm helping make this happen. Well, to those of you who have not yet donated, do it now and get that feeling. Share the Thom Hartmann Program with your friends. We're available on SiriusXM, Free Speech TV, Pacifica, commercial stations nationwide, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, on the Thom Hartmann app, and you can even tell your smart speaker to listen to the Thom Hartmann Program. So a while ago at Davos, Michael Dell, the computer billionaire who started out selling computers out of his dorm room in college. I was running CompuServe forums back in the day. This is in the late 70s or the early 80s, and he was selling them on CompuServe in my forums. And, now he's worth billions. And somebody asked him, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is proposing a 70% tax bracket for people who make the kind of money you make. What do you think of that? And his response was, a 70% tax rate? Name a country where that ever worked. Ever. And it turns out there is such a country, and apparently Michael Dell didn't know this. I think a lot of Americans don't know this, that there was a country that had its greatest period of prosperity in its entire history with a top tax rate that was above 70%. In fact, it hit 90% for more than half the time, and that was the United States of America. It's a new video over at ThomHartmann.com. Welcome back. Congressman Mark Pocan is with us for the hour, taking your calls. Morris in Long Beach, California. You are on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hey, everybody. The Democrats, they shut down the Republican recall in California, so Papa Joe's agenda is safe for right now. I ain't mad at them. They're not going to win the public with the popular vote, so they're doing whatever they can to get power. But, Congressman, I want to ask you this. The Senate Select Committee regarding the insurrection, there's no energy on that. I don't see nobody being called. I'm looking for some politicians to be called, to testify. What's going on with that? I'll take your comments off the air. And good morning, Tom.
Good morning, Morris. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, Morris, thank you. I think you mean the House committee, because I'm not sure, to be perfectly honest, what the Senate is doing. On the House side, it took a while to get the committee together because we tried to have the Republicans do the right thing. Very quickly, we realized they weren't going to. But we do have a couple Republicans that have joined us, so it is a bipartisan commission. But they are doing the legwork that you need to bring folks in. And also, this has been a little bit of a period where traditionally we're in districts over August and early September. But we're back to full work coming up. In fact, they told us to expect some of the weeks that we were previously planned to be home in October, that we'll be in Washington. So I think you're going to see activity very soon. But there is a lot of prep work they had to do just to make sure that they're in a position to get the information and the witnesses they need. But I don't think you're going to see this be a commission that's just going to be on paper. They're going to be active. And I just can't speak if there is a Senate one, Morris. I guess I should know that, but I don't. I know the committee we have in the House will be very active.
David in Columbus, Ohio. You're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, Congressman. I have a question on drug pricing. Currently, large corporations like CVS can determine what small pharmacies charge for the same drug, like twice as much, and then CVS undercuts them and buys them out. This is terrible, and I think the SEC should get on this because this is perfect monopolizing of the pharmacy industry. Is that being done right now?
So I'll tell you, there's a committee that just deals with antitrust issues on judiciary. David Cicilline, I believe, is the chair of that committee. David from Rhode Island, a good progressive. That is a part of the problem, just in general on that part of the pricing. But the biggest part comes from the pharmaceutical companies themselves. You know, this is one where if there is any example that you need to why we have to have serious campaign finance, ethics, and elections reform, it's the pharmaceutical industry. There are 1,500 big pharma lobbyists in Washington, D.C., out of the 14,000 lobbyists for every industry. That's enough to have 3 for every member of the House and Senate. I don't know who my 3 are, but that's obscene. That you have that kind of influence. And they're the ones right now that are trying to change what Joe Biden and the majority of Democrats want to do in trying to reduce prescription drug prices. There's some really good provisions in the Build Back Better bill, and we've got a few Democrats right now that are opposing that because maybe who they're listening to. So that's one of those things we got to be loud about and talking about and say we support what Joe Biden is trying to do on reducing prescription drug prices. Don't accept anything less. But to me, that's probably the bigger part that we got to deal with, David, although there are other things like you brought about. And certainly antitrust and monopolization across all industries is something we need to have far more conversations about. There's a good book out there, Goliath, by Matt Stoller that talks about this if you ever wanted to do a deep dive into it. But absolutely, and Robert Reich has sat down with the Progressive Caucus, had these conversations. You are right in a broader sense, but specifically I think when it comes to prescription drugs, it's often the companies themselves that are the problems.
Norma in Montgomery, Alabama. You're on the air with Representative Pocan.
Oh, hi. Thanks, Tom. Hello, Representative. When y'all are talking about money for all these different programs, you need to think about the fact that for the past 40 years, most of the people in this country have become what are called contract employees. They're classified as part-time, temporary, seasonal. They have no retirement benefits. The only way these people are going to survive and pay rent to all these foreign investment groups that are buying our country, buying our residential homes, is an increase in their Social Security check when they do retire. That means that the only way to get that money is to force these foreign investment groups and the large international corporations to make a minimum double payment into Medicare now and a minimum triple payment into Social Security now, so that we do not have the world's largest nomadic homeless population wandering north in the summer and wandering south in the winter. We cannot have 100 million homeless people because it will interfere with everything that the country wants to do. We need to be able to provide them with an income that will at least be able to pay rent and put a roof over their heads. And if we were to have, say, a medical clinic in every school, an asthma allergy specialist, a dental hygienist, and a vision doctor, we could solve a lot of problems. Parents wouldn't even have to take off of work to go get their kids and take them to the doctor. This would provide jobs. These people could be federal employees or private. But we have to start taking care of the people, and the only way to do it is with an increase in Medicare and an increase in Social Security. Am I crazy?
No, I mean, we have legislation to do just that, to change the way that we do the indexing, because clearly seniors spend things differently than the rest of the population as a whole, and there's a consumer price index, CPI-E, that addresses that, and I think that's part of the legislation that we're trying to get out there. But let me take it to a different point you said. I want to address the disease, and the disease is these companies who don't want to provide benefits, who are misclassifying employees and saying they're independent contractors. Everyone's an independent contractor. That is part of what we address in the PRO Act, the Protecting the Right to Organize Act in Congress, and we've passed in the House. The Senate, the filibuster right now is what's kind of holding it up, so another reason why we have to get rid of the filibuster. But let's not let these companies get away with this. I mean, there have been lawsuits out there, and there have been executive actions by presidents to try to address it. But we need to, the the whole Ubers of the world that are out there, they are employees by every definition, and they're trying to get around it to not provide the benefits. We can't let that slippery slope continue because that will have long-term impact, just like you said. So I think we've got to address the disease. The disease is these companies that are rather put their profits to the top folks in a company and stock dividends rather than their employees, and instead they don't want to give benefits, and we've got to address that. And there is serious misclassification. Tens of millions of people in this country are misclassified, and that's important enough to address in and of itself.
This Norma's question raises an interesting follow-on, if I may. There was a piece in the Financial Times last year pointing out that about 1/7 of all the physical building, I forget exactly how they describe it, but assets in America are foreign-owned, office buildings and residential homes in particular, but also businesses. And particularly our housing stock has become a major source of investment from foreign sources. And, there are other countries that don't allow people who aren't citizens to buy property in their countries. Is this an issue? Is anybody talking about this? Am I concerned about nothing?
No, there's a little bit of talk about it. I mean, obviously right now, Tom, this has been a very robust Congress in trying to get these proactive measures that are kind of dealing with what we hope is the end of COVID and get the economy back going, but also finally doing some things on behalf of the average American as opposed to, the wealthiest and the big companies that benefited so much under Donald Trump. But no, you're right. I mean, there is more we have to do, especially when it comes to consolidation and antitrust issues of having fewer and fewer companies involved. And many of these are countries that are outside the United States. When we have that, to me, that's the bigger issue we have to address, because if you don't have competition, then we wind up paying more in costs and you get less in service. And I think both of those people are starting to feel you are paying more for things, and also we're getting less service from many of these companies. So I think, those efforts are what I'm strongest behind is really addressing antitrust.
Makes perfect sense. Congressman Mark Pocan is with us, taking your calls for the hour. Middays with Mark on the Thom Hartmann Program. His website is Pocan, POCAN.house.gov. You can tweet him at @RepMarkPocan. Back with more of your calls for Representative Pocan in just a moment.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Middays with Mark. Congressman Mark Pocan taking your calls right after this. And welcome back. John in Seattle, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, thanks, Tom. Mr. Pocan, I wanted to check on the Progressive Caucus's position on the proposed $50 billion in subsidies for existing atomic power plants. I think there was a gentleman on Tom's show last week who outlined the details.
Yeah, I don't think there's a pending legislation that I'm aware of around that. So usually we take positions on bills. For example, right now, many of us are saying that these twin bills, the Build Back Better bill and the infrastructure bill, have to go through together. And, we're not going to vote on one without the other. So we'll do things like that. We've had positions of what we wanted to have within that. There were 5 core areas, and all of them have been delivered in that bill. But we don't just have necessarily a position on every issue that's out there unless generally there's some pending legislation. So, John, I don't know if I have anything to say specifically as the CPC position.
John in Kashmir, Washington, you're on the air with Congressman Pocan.
Hi, Congressman. I have a question that might drift into the antitrust monopoly arena. I wondered if you were aware of a recent lawsuit against a company, not really a company, an organization called Lowcast.
Not a fan, John.
Okay. Lowcast is a company that provides over-the-air TV streaming via streaming for rural areas. And currently I live in central Washington. We don't have any over-the-air TV at all in this area. We're stuck having to get television service from cable companies. Folks that live in areas like Portland, where Tom lives, or Seattle, where I used to live, have no problem getting over-the-air TV for free. the big entertainment companies recently sued Locast, who was basically just providing a streaming service over the internet for metropolitan market TV. It seems to me it's somewhat of a monopolistic situation where the entertainment companies are double dipping. They're getting revenue from their commercials, and they're getting paid by cable companies. And then folks like us in the rural areas are forced to use those cable companies to get any sort of service. I just wondered if you could look into that or bring it to Congress's attention. So I believe it's been an issue that's needed addressed for a long time.
Yeah, John, I live in a rural town of 830 people. I just got internet a few years ago. We have a satellite for our TV, and I have, as you know, very few options where to go. That is part of a good example of what's out there. At some point, Tom, Representative David Cicilline, who's a good Progressive Caucus member, is the chair of that subcommittee, and it really is a fascinating subject area. Agriculture, that's one of the biggest things hurting us in places like Wisconsin is these mergers, pharmaceutical companies. There's so much that people don't know about, and I think he would be a great person to have on to talk about this.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, a lot of this just goes back to 1983 when Reagan basically instructed the Justice Department and the FTC, I believe it was, or SEC to stop enforcing the Sherman Antitrust Act and the other antitrust laws, or reinterpret them, in ways that were consistent with Robert Bork's philosophy. But yeah, Cicilline is great. Congressman, thank you. We'll be right back. It's 49 minutes past the hour here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Back with more of your calls in 60 seconds. Stick around. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com. We have a new video up over at ThomHartmann.com about conspiracy theories. Abby Richards came up with a kind of a hierarchy of conspiracies, maybe a variation on the old Maslow hierarchy. And it goes from actual conspiracies to maybe this was a conspiracy, maybe not, we have questions, to this is kind of crazy stuff, but who knows, flying saucers, for example, to actual science denial, conspiracy theories that actually serve to promote the interests of a particular industry or wealthy individuals, to the totally crazy stuff, the flat earth, the reptilian overlords and all that kind of thing, conspiracy theories that can do tremendous damage. And, one of those being one of the conspiracy theories that, brought two Republicans into Congress this year. So anyhow, I lay the whole thing out with a new video for our supporters over at ThomHartmann.com. Welcome back, Congressman Mark Pocan taking your calls, and Dave in Sarasota, Florida. You're on the air with Representative Pocan.
Hi, I'd like to thank both of you for the both great jobs you do.
Thank you.
My question for Representative Pocan is he a co-sponsor for Representative Larson's Social Security Act and the SHARE Act?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we had him not only come to the caucus, but when he came to a leadership meeting in Nancy Pelosi's office that we had weekly when I used to be the co-chair of the caucus, we were strong advocates for him with this bill as well. I think it makes a lot of sense. It will make sure that Social Security lasts long into the future. It will increase that payment. It does another of other important reforms, and it's really pretty easy. One of the easiest ways to really prolong Social Security is to lift the cap. Right now, at $140-something thousand a year, you don't pay another penny into Social Security. In many ways, it's a regressive tax, and it's something that's relatively easy to fix. Having said all that, Tom, as you know, Congress only acts on deadlines, and that's, I think, part of the reason why you haven't seen as much activity on that. But, Dave, absolutely, it's a good bill.
Michael in Fairview, Michigan. You're on the air with Representative Pocan.
Good morning, Tom. Congressman Pocan. My question has to do with the policing downstate Michigan. and it has to do with the medical marijuana, which has been in effect since 2018. Saw a disturbing video about how 2 families were destroyed. One a teacher, and the other worked for. They had to quit their jobs, and they're taking their personal items just to go to auction, and they're cherry picking. They're taking like certain things like vehicles, and they're not given a warning. We have a law on the books. If you could maybe shed a little light on that, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, now that particular situation, I'm not sure if it's federal or state officials. I'm not familiar with what's happening in Michigan. It is state. Okay. But in general, I think, Michael, the best thing I can say is at the federal level, we have a very antiquated laws around marijuana. Let's face it, many states have legal medical marijuana. Many states have legal marijuana. They trust their constituents to be adults and use it responsibly, and it brings a lot of revenue in for programs like things like education. Federal government still has these antiquated policies that you can't put money from that legal business into a bank. Because we have not updated some of our federal laws, and there have been attempts to, but we have not quite gotten to all of that. And we do need to address that. You can't have states legitimately within their states having legal laws for marijuana, and the federal laws don't even get close to matching up. And it's very much needed, Michael.
Dion in Chicago, you're on the air with Representative Pocan.
Yeah, is there anything in the infrastructure that will help combat inflation, or any things being discussed in the future?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the inflation stuff, just so you know, is not like it's a problem that's going to be continuing. It's because we've had an economy that largely shut down. Certain industries have hyper increases, and that's affecting the overall inflation rate. But this is a giant Republican talking point. I just sat through a committee where that's all they could talk about was Joe Biden's inflationary economy. Generally, that means the economy is coming back, and that would be a good thing, although we obviously don't want to have the inflation. But it's also not true that it's just something across the board that somehow Joe Biden's doing because he's doing something wrong. It's because we came out of essentially a shutdown as an economy, and certain industries have been really leading this. But, I think the best thing we can do is get people back working in industries, invest in America and invest in working families. And if we do that, we're going to be really addressing the economic challenges we need to most immediately.
Danny in Monument, Colorado. We have about a minute left here, maybe 2. Two, I think.
All right.
Danny, you're on the air.
All right, quick one. I thought there was talk, or there was about a legislation to prevent Trump from ever running again. If there is not, why do you guys not introduce that? Because he seems to be a constant thorn in the side of democracy.
Yeah, there are thousands of bills introduced, so I can't say whether one has or not, because I just don't know every single bill. However, I think any bill like that, you've got to think about the Senate, because it's not going to, the 50-50 Senate with Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema already saying they won't change a filibuster for things like voting rights. I don't know if they're going to do things that might be something that you and I would love to see, but, it may be difficult to have that happen. So I don't know if, simply introducing legislation would actually move it forward. I doubt it would. I think what we just need to do is continue to expose Donald Trump for who he is and what he is. And, hopefully what just happened in California yesterday is a good example that in general, people don't want more of that divisiveness, the lies about, the big lie about the elections and everything else. And while there certainly is an audience for that, that audience has probably always been within the Republican Party. They were just given voice by Donald Trump. And that's why now, many of them don't wear white hoods anymore. They just speak outright in public.
Yeah, sadly. In the last 30 seconds of the hour here, Congressman, what should we be looking for and doing as we go forward in the next weeks?
I'll tell you, watch the news real closely. I think it's going to be important that you're in regular communication with your federal elected officials on the Build Back Better bill and to a lesser degree the infrastructure bill, because we've got to get this right. And if we let the special interest stop what is otherwise a really great proposal from Joe Biden and that people like Bernie Sanders have helped to negotiate, it would be really to our disadvantage. So be ready to reach out to your elected officials often if needed.
Thank you. Congressman Pocan, thanks for dropping by again today.
Absolutely, Tom. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. We'll be back with more of the news of the day and your calls here on the Thom Hartmann Program. Stick around. Coming up, Professor Richard Wolff. What happens if the GOP forces the government to default? Stick around.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More information at HelloFresh.com, code TOM. CB Distillery for sleeping and pain relief. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. Dinovite, only the best all-natural pet supplements. More info at dinovite.com. Annie's Kit Clubs, creativity delivered right to your door. More info at annieskitclubs.com/Tom. Wild Alaskan Company, delicious, sustainably sourced seafood delivered right to your door. More information at wildalaskancompany.com/Tom. And Mack Weldon, reinventing men's basics. More info at mackweldon.com/Tom.
We say fight back!
I would like to have a conversation with those of you who have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV. In fact, in particular, to those of you who have never contributed to Free Speech TV. I know, I see you. I know you're out there. How about helping out, huh? There's two ways you can help. Number one, help bring in new viewers. Let people know about Free Speech TV. Get friends of yours. Look for programs that you think will really resonate with your friends and tell them about it. We need to expand the viewer base of Free Speech TV. Number one. Number two, call 877-378-8669 and say, finally, I've been watching this show or I've been watching this network for years and years and years, or months and months and months, whatever it may be, and I've finally decided that I'm going to help out. That I want to be part of the solution, as it were, and make a contribution. It's painless, relatively speaking. It doesn't hurt. It's not like having teeth pulled, to give your credit card number or mail a check in or whatever, however is easiest for you. But Free Speech TV is sustained by its viewers, and one of the things that we know is that the vast majority of viewers, well over 90%, probably well over 95%, and this is not unique to Free Speech TV, this is true of all viewer or listener-supported media right across the board, never help out, never kick in. There's a lot of folks who just, enjoy the program, but think, it just kind of magically happens. And that's the thing. If you want, watered-down coverage that is highly sensationalized and that doesn't take on tough issues that might chafe the opinions or the attitudes or hurt the feelings, shall we say, of the insurance industry or the pharmaceutical industry or whoever happens to be advertising on TV these days, then you've got commercial television. And you don't have to pay to watch commercial television outside of your cable fees or whatever it may be. But if you want to have an actual
discussion of real topics that may not, that may cause some discomfort in corporate boardrooms or a little dyspepsia among the billionaire class. It's going to require all of us to make that happen. And that includes you, who have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV. So let me encourage you to make your very first contribution to Free Speech TV today. Chip in, help out. Become part of the solution. It doesn't mean you're part of the problem if you don't, but become part of the solution. Free Speech TV is part of the solution to what ails America. It's waking people up, spreading good, solid, verifiable, honest information. We are so rigorous here about making sure that everything we say can be backed up. And on the occasion when I get something wrong, I go out of my way to make it clear on the air. Oops, I said this wrong. Here's the correction. Yesterday, I got Medicare Part A and B mixed up. Checked it during the break, corrected it afterwards. For example. So, if you value that, if that's a value to you, have that kind of a resource to use, whether it's debating crazy Uncle George or just knowing what's going on in the world, please pick up your phone right now and call 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV and help keep this network going. There are premiums. With a $20 gift, you have your choice between the Free Speech TV sticky sticker or the Free Speech TV clingy sticker, the kind of window sticker, the clear sticker. With a $50 gift, there's the very cool Free Speech TV canvas tote bag in 2 different models. With a $75 gift, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Thom Hartmann Program, the official Free Speech TV Thom Hartmann Program mug, available only right here, right now. With a $100 gift, there is the Free Speech TV customized notebook and pen or the Free Speech TV socks. With a $120 gift, there is a copy of my book, my new book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, how sickness bankrupts you and makes others insanely rich, autographed by the author, or the Free Speech TV t-shirt. It's with a $120 gift. With a $240 gift, join us on Zoom, on a Zoom call, for a virtual meet and greet, kind of an Ask Tom Anything moment. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University gift box, the socks, the bumper sticker, the Hidden History of Healthcare, autographed by the author, the Free Speech TV mug, and the hat. And with a $1,000 gift, there is the get-together here in Portland that, wow, it's been like a year and a half since we've done one of these, but they're always so fun and so interesting, and you get to meet some really great people, and you will too, once the general COVID insanity is over. So you can get in line. 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your donation during this program while we're on the air. 877-378-8669 is the number. But please, in particular, I know that those, many of you have already given to Free Speech TV, and you know that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling that you get, that feeling like, wow, I'm like kind of an owner of this network. I'm a participant in it. I'm helping make this happen. Well, to those of you who have not yet donated, do it now and get that feeling.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back to the second hour of our program. Thom Hartmann here with you. So back in the 1950s, when the Republicans started this whole, oh my God, we can't have too much public debt. We can't have too much, a national debt and deficit in our election. And they put into law that there was a ceiling to the public debt. This was not something that's like in the Constitution or anything. And then they've used that as a club, basically, to beat up Democrats with over the years repeatedly. Democrats tend to ignore it. And now they're threatening to do it again, to shut down the government over the debt ceiling,
And if they do, it could have some serious consequences. So let's check in with Professor Richard Wolff, the economist and co-founder of democracyatwork.info, the author of numerous books. His latest, The Sickness is the System, When Capitalism Fails to Save Us from Pandemics or Itself, also available now as an ebook. rdwolff.com with two Fs also, and Prof. Wolff is his Twitter handle. Professor Wolff, welcome back. So what do we do? What is the story here? The debt ceiling, I mean, I gave a little bit away in the setup, I suppose, but we have this debt ceiling. If you could explain that, and then what happens if the Republicans, stay true to this threat that they're making, that they're going to refuse to raise the debt ceiling?
Well, first of all, the debt. Every year, the government of the United States, like every other government, has to raise money with taxes and spend money for all the things that the government is expected to do. A problem arises if the spending that the government wants to do is larger than the taxes it feels it can reasonably take from its private businesses and private individuals. When that happens, when the spending is more than the taxes, it's called a deficit. And all that means is the government has to get the money somewhere else because it hasn't raised the taxes enough to cover the spending. And when it does that, it goes out and borrows money from whoever is willing to lend to the United States government. And that's simply how the national debt accumulates over time. American governments have been doing that from the beginning throughout our history. You're absolutely right. In recent decades, the Republicans have found it a convenient story to tell as if it were something new or as if it were something scary, et cetera, et cetera. Over the years, as the United States, mainly across the 20th century, became the global powerhouse economy, its debt, the debts of the United States government, came to be looked upon around the world as the most secure way to hold wealth. It could not be taken away by your own government if you lived in another country. It wasn't subject to the ups and downs of the economy. It was a kind of debt that Uncle Sam had committed himself to pay you. And what that meant was that anybody who's wealthy enough to worry about it keeps a portion of their company's wealth or their individual wealth or even their country's wealth in the form of debts of the United States government. Now let's fast forward to the present. We are currently running deficits larger than any in the peacetime history of the United States. We're currently, as I speak, running a deficit roughly around $3 trillion. In other words, the government is spending money beyond what it raises in taxes to the tune of $3 trillion, which therefore it has to borrow. And now here comes the problem. There's a legal ceiling. Because the Congress did, as you explained, set a limit. You can't borrow more than X trillion dollars as a government. They are now bumping up against the ceiling. And if, in fact, the Republicans carry out their threat this time, mostly these are empty threats, but if they carry it out this time, then suddenly the government cannot borrow anymore because it's reached the ceiling. But if it can't borrow, then it can't spend on all kinds of programs that it needs the money to spend on. And then the government is going to be in a very sticky situation, which is why the Republicans enjoy this, because it will be blamed, they hope, on Mr. Biden and the Democrats as they figure out who's going to not get spent on. Are we going to, for example, stop sending checks to the Social Security people? Are we going to stop funding the airports that the government sustains? Are we going to, for example, not pay the interest to all the folks who own the American debt and who are therefore entitled to the interest payments? Are we going to tell them you're not going to get your interest payment? If we ever dare do that, then you can bet the next time the government needs to borrow money, people around the world who used to give the government that money won't do it anymore, and that could have terrible consequences. I mean, let me drive the point home. You would have had to raise taxes in America by many, many thousands of dollars on every American for the last 20 years if Americans had paid for the wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. The government was able to pay for a large portion of them, not by taxing Americans, but by borrowing the money. But if you do that, then you're going to bump up against the ceiling, all of which the Republicans don't want to tell you. And likewise, they don't want to tell you that the biggest boost to the debts of the United States was the decision under Mr. Trump, passed in the Congress in December of 2017, when he gave back the taxes that they had all paid. And so it is really a kind of sleaze to now say, gee, there's a terrible deficit and we have to impose the ceiling, when it was the Republicans who bear at least as much responsibility for this deficit and these debts as anybody else.
So if the Republicans were successful in blocking this, and we've seen this happen before, you know, they quote, shut down the government. Newt Gingrich started this back in the 90s as a way of beating Bill Clinton over the head. But if they did it long enough, doesn't it have the potential to crash the economy? And might not
Absolutely.
that be exactly what they want to have happen, so that Democrats will be blamed for, you know, the Great Depression of 2021 or whatever? And if so, how would that work? The crashing of the economy?
Well, you know, there it depends on how the Biden government would react. In other words, if they couldn't borrow the amounts of money that they had planned on because this ceiling was really made a reality by the Republicans, then the Biden administration would have to figure out, okay, who's not going to get spent on? And I meant it what I said before. Are you going to take back money that you were going to give to Social Security recipients? Are you going to cut the budget for all the other things the government does? Are you going to close the COVID vaccination program? What is it you're going to do? And I think the Republicans are enjoying the prospect of putting Mr. Biden in such a pickle, because no matter where he cuts, the people affected, which could be all of us, are going to be upset and angry, and the Republicans are calculating that most of them will blame the government doing the cutting rather than the Republicans imposing. But if they didn't cut at home because it's too politically dangerous, but said to the people around the world who own the debt of the United States government, okay, we can't borrow anymore because we've hit the ceiling, so we're not going to pay you back the way we had promised. We're not going to pay you interest. People should understand the United States is the largest debtor country in the world, and it needs to be able to borrow more than any place in the world because that's how it organizes its economy. And if it were unable to do that, we're in a whole new ballgame of what will happen in this economy if the government cannot borrow the vast sums that are keeping it going. I mean, we have to face, although I know it's difficult for Americans, that we're now an economy on government life support, and that life support is borrowing, and the Republicans are playing with a very dangerous fire.
Yeah, and all 8 years of the Bush administration, all 4 years of the Trump administration, they just routinely raised the debt ceiling. It wasn't even an issue.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Absolutely.
Professor Richard Wolff, thank you so much. It's great talking with you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. Well, stick around.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Want to get into the Texas abortion hypocrites right after this break. Stick around, 15 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Carol in Seattle. Hey, Carol, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Hey, I was thinking about, it's a little off the topic of the abortion thing, but could we do more antibody testing to know our exact levels of immunity, and then therefore saving the boosters or third shot for others and not get one until we know, what our levels are.
Yeah. My understanding is that antibody testing is very expensive. So and it's not something that's relatively easily done. So that may be a problem. And
I don't think that's true though, because they do it with animals, even with their titer, and I feel like we're missing something here. So
okay,
I'm not an expert.
Maybe I'm misinformed on that.
And I'll do some homework too.
Yeah, the B where I was going with that is a little bit like, when I was a kid, there was this famine going on in China, and my mom used to say, "Eat all your food. There's children starving in China." And I would push my plate across the table and say, "Well, why don't you put it in a box and ship it to them?" Just because we don't use boosters on a vaccine that has to be kept at 70 degrees below zero and only lasts for a few months or maybe even a few weeks at that, it doesn't mean that we can easily start shipping it all over the world. What we really need to do, rather than denying people boosters so that we can vaccinate the world, is do away with these patent protections and force the companies that develop these drugs, these vaccines, to offer licenses at lower prices than they might otherwise like, but still making a profit, to third world countries that have vaccine manufacturing capabilities so that they can make the vaccines there and we can get this thing under control. And that's what we talk to Lori Wallach about all the time, about these so-called TRIPS waivers. And
exactly.
so I really think that's what we need to be doing.
And I think we're missing a few other steps, but we could talk later on that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carol.
Okay.
Beth in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hey, Beth, what's up?
Hi. Well, I wanted to talk about the manufacture of vaccines in other countries, too. Mm-hmm. We hear all about trying to get the leftovers used by other countries, and that to other countries for them to use, and that just doesn't work. I mean, it's so complicated. But the current budget bill has some money in it that was really kind of forced by public outcry about getting some money in for that manufacturing process. I'm a member of Results, and we worked really hard on that. We're now working on getting $25 billion for that in the budget. And I was just wondering if you had any ideas on little tricks that we could use to raise the awareness of the issue and get more people involved and get them aware of the importance of getting the supply that way.
This is providing subsidies to the manufacturers?
Well, no, it's building the framework of the manufacturing. So it would include things like getting the patents, loosened up for them, but also just they need the supply chain. They need the. Oh,
this is about like just domestic sourcing of raw materials and things like that.
Well, just whatever is needed to get. There are centers that are capable of doing it. We just need to get the thing started.
Beth, I confess I'm not real well educated about this. If you have any information on it, feel free to tweet it at me. Beth, I got to run. Thanks. Our 1 hour free podcast recaps our show, and it's available wherever fine podcasts are found. And we have the full 3 hour podcast available over at thomhartmann.com if you want to really support our program. There's so much news coming out of the Trump administration, so much corruption, so many crimes. Now they're letting people kill endangered species. Now they're selling off, the Arctic National Wildlife Preserve refuge to big oil companies. Now they're they're authorizing pesticides that we know cause birth defects and damage to children. It's just step after step after step that it's so easy to forget that back in July of 2020 it was reported that Jared Kushner and Mike Pence's nephew John Pence created a couple of LLCs, American-Made Media Consultants Corporation, that took $617 million of Trump campaign cash, and nobody knows where it went. I'm telling you, these guys are professional grifters. We need to keep an eye on it. There's a whole rant about it over at thomhartmann.com for supporters of our program. And welcome back. 21 minutes past the hour. Wanted to just share with you my rant from today from HartmannReport.com. It's titled, "The Texas Abortion Hypocrites Don't Care About Post-Birth Children." You know, that Governor Abbott and the Republicans in Texas will tell you that they're very, 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 very concerned about children, particularly before they're born, even when they're the size of a grain of rice and have a tail indistinguishable from a tadpole at around 6 weeks of gestation. But when children are post-birth, when they're old enough that the state of Texas might have to use some of those tax dollars from their rich people to care for those kids when their own birth parents can't or won't, suddenly Texas Republicans have amnesia about all this concern for children. Yesterday, U.S. District Judge Janice Jack had scheduled a 2-day hearing where the lawyers for the children in foster care, or for many of the children in foster care in Texas, have been just outraged, just very, very concerned about what's going on in Texas. And I'll lay that out in just a second. She had this 2-day hearing scheduled, and 3 hours into it, she just cut it off and said, "That's it, enough." She said, "I don't know if anything would be served by continuing the hearing." And then she, she doesn't want to give the state any more time to study this. I mean, already the state of Texas has studied this situation for decades, and Greg Abbott apparently wants to have another study. While children are sleeping on office floors, they're crashing in flea bag motels, they're failing to get therapy or medications that they need, they're being sexually and physically abused. In this hearing, for example, they presented evidence about a 7-year-old who was handcuffed by a security guard, other kids who tried to commit suicide by slashing their wrists, hanging themselves, and drinking cleaning fluids. This past year in Texas, there were over 630 confirmed, substantiated allegations of abuse, neglect, or exploitation within the system. 14,227 violations by the state. And these are the things they caught. Violations of what they referred to as minimum standards of care. Over the past 6 years, this same judge, Judge Jack, has repeatedly ruled that Texas is violating its own children's constitutional right to be free from unreasonable risk of harm, is the phrase that they use. And the state basically has refused to do anything about it. They don't want to raise taxes on their morbidly rich people. And she's found them in contempt of court twice. This is what Judge Jack said. She said, "Governors in the past, as well as this governor, and legislators in the past have done study after study after study and have come up with the same issues, the same exact issues." Judge Jack added, "I just want these children to be safe." I mean, this is particularly troubling given the explosion of unwanted kids who are going to start being born in about 9 months in Texas. You're going to see thousands more children a year whose parents are unable to take care of them, too young or immature to take care of them, not competent to take care of them, or in some cases, frankly, just don't give a damn, didn't want the kids in the first place, and don't want to take care of them. And sadly, having worked in that industry back years ago, I can tell you that's a very real part of this problem. And, wealthy white women are going to have no problem in Texas getting an abortion. They'll just hop on an airplane and fly to another state. But poorer women in Texas who don't have the resources, or women in Texas who don't have the resources and very definitely don't want to have children, they're going to be the ones who are going to end up having these children, and these children are going to end up in the system. And so Texas not only is exaggerating or amplifying or expanding the number of children that they're going to have to be dealing with. Of course, it's not going to be Greg Abbott's problem. These kids are going to pop up in the system in 2, 3, 5, 10 years, right? It's going to be long after Greg Abbott has run for president and, whatever, and retired. But this is just a crime, what's going on in Texas. The fact that the state, on the one hand, is forcing low-income women to have children, and I'm telling you, you just look at the statistics in the foster care system.
So many of these kids are coming out of low-income homes who just don't have the resources to care for them, or in some cases just didn't want to have them in the first place, but didn't have the resources to get an abortion, or didn't even know about it. In some cases, you get 15-year-olds, and in Texas, sex education is forbidden to talk about birth control or abortion. They don't even know. In many cases, these kids don't even. These young women who are having these children, or the children who are having children, essentially, don't even know what's available to them. They end up having these babies, and then they end up in the system. And this is all so that Greg Abbott can get the votes of white evangelicals. They're the ones who have been pushing the abortion issue mostly. I realize the Catholic Church has been big on it, but this is just so hypocritical. It's insane. We'll be back. Pick up your phone calls right after the break.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
What's it going to take for Texas Republicans to see the error, the hypocrisy that they are marinating? I would like to have a conversation with those of you who have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV. In fact, in particular, to those of you who have never contributed to Free Speech TV. I see you. I know you're out there. How about helping out, huh? There's two ways you can help. Number one, help bring in new viewers. Let people know about Free Speech TV. Get friends of yours, look for programs that you think will really resonate with your friends and tell them about it. We need to expand the viewer base of Free Speech TV, number one. Number two, call 877-378-8669 and say, finally, I've been watching this show, or I've been watching this network for years and years and years, or months and months and months, whatever it may be, and I've finally decided that I'm going to help out. That I want to be part of the solution, as it were, and make a contribution. It's painless, relatively speaking. It doesn't hurt. It's not like having teeth pulled, to give your credit card number or mail a check in or whatever, however is easiest for you. But Free Speech TV is sustained by its viewers, and one of the things that we know is that the vast majority of viewers, well over 90%, probably well over 95%, and this is not unique to Free Speech TV, this is true of all viewer or listener-supported media right across the board, never help out, never kick in. There's a lot of folks who just, enjoy the program, but think, it just kind of magically happens. And that's the thing. If you want, watered down coverage that is highly sensationalized and that doesn't take on tough issues that might chafe the opinions or the attitudes or hurt the feelings, shall we say, of the insurance industry or the pharmaceutical industry or whoever happens to be advertising on TV these days, then you've got commercial television. And you don't have to pay to watch commercial television outside of your cable fees or whatever it may be. But if you want to have an actual discussion of real topics that may not, that may cause some discomfort in corporate boardrooms or a little dyspepsia among the billionaire class, it's going to require all of us to make that happen. And that includes you, who have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV. So let me encourage you to make your very first contribution to Free Speech TV today. Chip in, help out. Become part of the solution. It doesn't mean you're part of the problem if you don't, but become part of the solution. Free Speech TV is part of the solution to what ails America. It's waking people up, spreading good, solid, verifiable, honest information. We are so rigorous here about making sure that everything we say can be backed up. And on the occasion when I get something wrong, I go out of my way to make it clear on the air. Oops, I said this wrong. Here's the correction. Yesterday, I got Medicare Part A and B mixed up. Checked it during the break, corrected it afterwards. For example. So, if you value that, if that's a value to you, have that kind of a resource to use, whether it's debating crazy Uncle George or just knowing what's going on in the world, please pick up your phone right now and call 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV and help keep this network going. There are premiums. With a $20 gift, you have your choice between the Free Speech TV sticky sticker or the Free Speech TV clingy sticker, the kind of window sticker, the clear sticker. With a $50 gift, there's the very cool Free Speech TV canvas tote bag in 2 different models. With a $75 gift, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Thom Hartmann Program, the official Free Speech TV Thom Hartmann Program mug, available only right here, right now. With a $100 gift, there is the Free Speech TV customized notebook and pen or the Free Speech TV socks. With a $120 gift, there is a copy of my book, my new book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, how sickness bankrupts you and makes others insanely rich, autographed by the author, or the Free Speech TV t-shirt. It's with a $120 gift. With a $240 gift, join us on Zoom, on a Zoom call, for a virtual meet and greet, kind of an Ask Tom Anything moment. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University gift box, the socks, the bumper sticker, the Hidden History of Healthcare, autographed by the author, the Free Speech TV mug, and the hat. And with a $1,000 gift, there is the get-together here in Portland that, wow, it's been like a year and a half since we've done one of these, but they're always so fun and so interesting, and you get to meet some really great people, and you will too, once the general COVID insanity is over. So you can get in line. 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your donation during this program while we're on the air. 877-378-8669 is the number. But please, in particular, I know that those, many of you have already given to Free Speech TV, and you know that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling that you get, that feeling like, wow, I'm like kind of an owner of this network. I'm a participant in it. I'm helping make this happen. Well, to those of you who have not yet donated, do it now and get that feeling. Hey, thanks so much for sharing our program and for reaching out to our stations and sponsors and letting them know that you're listening. It really means a lot to us. Over at the Thom Hartmann website, thomhartmann.com, we have, the full podcasts and there's just a lot of information, and our newsletter. And the newsletter's extraordinary. It's free. Sue puts it together every day with her stack, and it's just great content. Links to every single article that I talk about on the air, and things that are peripheral to them as well. It's really worth the effort. And then, of course, at HartmannReport.com, there is my daily rant, which is typically incorporated into the program, but it's a written version of it, and that's also something that there's no cost for that at all. So you can check that out as well. Also, we've got a new video up about the dueling memes. If at first you don't succeed, try again, or the definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. Schumer is going to try to do what Harry Reid did in 2013 by forcing votes. Will it work? We'll see. Check it out at thomhartmann.com. And welcome back. 35 minutes past the hour. Just a couple of things I wanted to flag for you, and then I'll pick up your phone calls here on, pretty much any of the topics of the day, anything that Mark Pocan brought up, whatever you'd like to talk about. The first is an article that a listener brought to my attention earlier, and a tip of the hat, and thanks for that. It's titled, "Why Are Dying Seniors Switching Their Medicare Coverage?" This is in Money Talks News. It was part of the MSN network news. And I'll just, read little pieces of it. This is about a government accounting office or accountability office, the GAO, that is kind of, does oversight basically for government programs. They were looking at Medicare Advantage versus Medicare, and what they found was that, well, I'll just read it. Seniors with Medicare Advantage programs are more than twice as likely to leave their plan and switch to traditional Medicare during their last year of life, a recent government analysis shows.
This, by the way, also leads to higher costs for the federal government, according to the GAO, because last year of life is typically the most expensive year of life in terms of health care costs. And so what's happening is seniors are dropping their Medicare Advantage programs, going back to regular Medicare for that last year, so the government is paying for it rather than the big for-profit health insurance companies or the HMOs. They were looking at more disenrollment and mortality data from 2015 through 2018. It's a 40-page report to Congress that the GAO came up with. This follows on a 2017 GAO report that found that under some Medicare Advantage contracts, enrollees who were in poor health were, quote, substantially more likely, 47% on average, to leave their plan when compared with enrollees in better health, which just, kind of supports what I keep saying, which is that Medicare Advantage sounds like a great deal when you're healthy. But as soon as you get sick, it can be a real kick in the teeth. And here we've got, the federal government, the GAO, coming basically right out and saying the same thing. Amazing. By the way, we have spies. I have a friend who works as a producer for a right-wing talk show host that I will not name, who sent me this thing from the Republican Study Committee, which I've got to get on their mailing list. The Republican Study Committee is basically within the House of Representatives, it's a bunch of right-wingers. The chairman is Jim Banks. And this is what I think you can expect the right-wing talking points. Hear them here before you hear them anywhere else. It's titled The Democrats' Dangerous Open Border Plan for Afghanistan. Keep in mind, we just brought 100,000 or so people out of Afghanistan, many of them Afghans. Or Afghanis, whichever is the correct pronunciation, who are, shall we say, not white European people, and Christian and not Christian people. And as a result, of course, the Republican Party has gone into full freakout. What, more brown people who aren't Christians coming to the United States? And these are the points that they are making. That this just came out of the Republican Study Committee. In fact, it came out today. This is a report dated today, September 15, 2021, about the Afghan vetting process. President Biden's proposed language says that an Afghan national shall hereinafter be eligible for the benefits if an Afghan national, they go through a bunch of language. But basically, the Republicans are claiming that the Biden administration is not doing enough to vet these folks, which is absurd, number one. Number two, the Republicans are claiming that Joe Biden is offering these people welfare for the rest of their lives, which is also not true, although they are entitled to get, welfare programs initially, because, hey, you come to the United States with what? You got a job with Hewlett Packard or something? I mean, really? Number three, it passed the citizenship. Yes, they can be given green cards, and then, after 5 or 10 years, whatever it is, it's quite a period of time. Those green cards can be, you can apply for citizenship. But that's just got the Republicans absolutely hysterical. And then the fact that this could be extended to relatives, in other words, more brown people might come into the United States. Oh my God, maybe even Muslims. Because they're related to somebody who, worked for the U.S. military. We brought them over to the United States as part of this, exit out of Afghanistan. They get their green card. They get their citizenship 10, 15 years down the road. They're bringing their relatives in now on the relative visa programs, all of which is legal and normal and routinely done. But, oh, my God, the Republicans are hysterical about this. The conclusion, quote, this is from the Republican Study Committee, it would be mind-bending to commemorate the 20th anniversary of 9/11 by giving any unvetted Afghan national with ulterior motives who has been evacuated now or in the future unfettered access to the American homeland. Just that word homeland triggers me. I've got to tell you, this is going to be out of the 360, Sean, that we never referred to the United States as a homeland before. If we are to call this country the homeland, it is the homeland for Native Americans.
It is the homeland for the Iroquois and the Cree and the Shoshone, but it is not the homeland for the people that the Republicans are talking about when they use this word. Where did this word come from? Well, back in 1937, when Rudolf Hess was introducing Adolf Hitler at the Nuremberg rally, this is when the Nazis stopped referring to Germany as der Vaterland, the fatherland, and started referring to it as der Heimat. Heimat is the German word for homeland. And this is the first use, and I'll tell you, the reason why they did this, by the way, is that there was this growing movement, particularly given the attacks on Jewish people in Germany at the time. Keep in mind, this is 1937. There was a growing Zionist movement to create a homeland, a Heimat, for the Jewish people. And it was being discussed all over the world. And of course, that came out of the end of World War II, but the Holocaust. But the Germans, the Nazis, thought, hey, cool, let's appropriate that language for Germans. And so here is Rudolf Hess introducing Adolf Hitler, using the word homeland for the first time, and saying, thanks, Dank Ihren Führer, thanks to our Führer, Heimat zu sein. We now have a homeland. Germany is a Heimat, a homeland for Germans all over the world. Alles über die ganze Welt. I may be recalling this wrong, but I'm pretty. Just listen to it. Here it is. This is Hess introducing Hitler in 1937. Oops, wrong button. Hang on just a second. Heimat. Where did the Heimat go? I thought that was it, and it wasn't. And maybe I don't even have it right here. No, I don't. I'm sorry. Anyhow, that's the story of it, and it just makes me crazy. I'm going to have to get that on there. It just makes me crazy that they're like the Republicans, unfettered access to the American homeland. And this is why I objected when George W. Bush said, let's call the Department of National Security the Homeland Security. It's like, homeland? Really? Anyhow, end of rant. Let me pick up some of your phone calls here. Let's see here. T-Rez in Mount Shasta, California. Hey, T-Rez, what's up?
Hey, thanks. Let me turn you off. So my thought today when I was listening to you talk about the deficit, bringing home 2,500 military from Afghanistan and stopping that war, isn't that going to put money back into the coffers that's not spent on military budget?
One would hope.
And then the next question is we need to retool our military, because I know they're in all the states, and have them, instead of making bombs and bombers, making high-speed rail cars. And we need to change our military machine that depends on millions and billions to be making things for the new green industry.
I am absolutely with you on that. Absolutely with you.
I probably learned it from you.
Thank you.
Anyway, thanks for listening. Those are my questions.
Yeah, and hopefully, ending the Afghan war and hopefully soon, undoing the war in Iraq will have that effect. It could reduce our military budget. I'm not holding my breath. We're hitting a break here, Sean.
For whatever's starting to happen, these little war games in Korea could be putting us back into some sort of game.
Yeah, I'm very concerned about North Korea. I'm very concerned about Taiwan and China as well. It's not a good one. T-Rez, thanks for the call. Thanks for watching Free Speech TV. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back with more of your calls in just a moment. Stick around. And welcome back. Whoops. Hang on just a second. Thank you, Sean, for closing that. I don't, how do I close this window? There we go. Okay. Back to your calls. Robert in Modesto, California. Hey, Robert, what's on your mind today?
Hi, I was just listening to you talking about the hypocrisy of the abortion bans in Texas and that are starting to spread around.
Mm-hmm.
And call me a fabulous and maybe a really pessimistic person, but I can see where some future Republican will address the excess babies that are coming about that you were talking about as a doorway to repealing child labor laws by saying, well, we're concerned about them, but they would be in a lot less of a problem if we could put them to work.
There are actually Republicans who have been saying that for a long, long time. The child labor laws are an infringement on the right to contract, and the excuse that they typically use is family farms. The child labor laws make it illegal for you to have your 10-year-old go out and milk the cows, which is not the case, by the way. But that's the just like they say, the estate tax is going to cause family farms to go extinct, which family farms are almost never involved in estate taxes. But that's again what they use.
Well, and then you tie it in with like the report that I just saw not too long ago about the disparity, be like 10 million jobs, 8.5 million people out of work. That we have all these jobs that are unfilled. Let's put some little hands to work on it. And take the responsibility off of the state, other than managing, like working like an Angie's List or something, to where they get a cut. If you need workers, we got the kids. Just give us a cut.
Yeah, it's entirely reasonable, Robert, to assume that Republicans are going to be making that pitch, and it's always disingenuous. It's like for years and years and years they've been saying, yeah, keep the minimum wage at $7.50 because it's just teenagers who are working minimum wage jobs. When in fact, about I don't recall the exact number. 2/3 is what sticks in my head. I could be wrong. It might be larger than that. Of all minimum wage workers in the United States are actually adults who are supporting families. And
or like my mom, she went back to work for McDonald's at 45 because she'd been a housewife mother before that, and that was the first job that she could get.
Yeah.
She went on, but
and a lot of them are single parents too, I would add. I don't know if your mom was or not.
I believe
that. But
Modesto's a pretty good example of that.
Yeah.
I mean, the demographics here, they're not the worst, but they're pretty shocking. The other thing that they could tie in is the border thing. We don't need to bring in the people from the South when we got all these children here. I mean, they're really good at rationalizing their false concerns, and I'm afraid that kind of thing actually resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah, who needs immigrant labor? We've got 10-year-olds.
What's that?
Who needs immigrant labor? We've got 10-year-olds.
Yeah, and why do you need? Why would you need food stamps or anything like that when you've got back to the idea of the farm labor kids? They got the whole summer off or whatever. That they should be contributing their fair share. Otherwise they're just a load on us.
Yeah, it's crazy, and I can see just a whole spectrum of stuff coming out of this. Robert,
put them on a road crew. Put them on a road crew to take care of the infrastructure that helps them out. It sounds like it helps us out, but it helps them out more.
Yeah, it's incredible. Robert, I got to run, but thank you for the call. Important stuff. We'll be right back. It's 10 minutes before the hour. Change starts with you. You can be calling your Democratic or Republican representatives to let them know what you think by calling 202-224-3121. It's the Capitol switchboard. It'll get you right through to them. Just a reminder that my daily rants are published every day over at HartmannReport.com. And our podcast, our 1-hour podcast of the show, which is entirely free, is available through, iTunes and all the normal places where you find podcasts. Cut down of our show, and that we post a weekly video over at ThomHartmann.com. And the one this week is about seditious conspiracy, U.S. Code 2384. And the argument I'm making is that this law, which imposes 20 years in prison to by force prevent, hinder, or delay the execution of any law of the United States, end quote, is something that we should be seriously considering dusting off and applying to not just the people who showed up on January 6th, but the people who sent them there. Check it out, ThomHartmann.com. And welcome back. 9 minutes before the hour. Okay, I found the clip during the break, and again, you know, this is where the word homeland came from. This is when Germany started adopting the word homeland. By the way, they don't use it anymore. After the Nazis were gone in the 50s, they went back to referring to it as the fatherland or the motherland, depending on what part of Germany you're in. But George W. Bush and Dick Cheney brought this word into the American vocabulary. And those of you old enough to remember what America was like before 9/11, we never, ever, to the best of my knowledge in the history of this country, referred to this country as our homeland. And here's Rudolf Hess introducing Adolf Hitler. Again, Danke Ihren Führer. Thanks to our Führer. Germans now have a Heimat, Deutscher sein Heimat, and a homeland, by the way, for Germans all over the world. Über die ganze Welt. Here it is. I think. There we go.
Dank Ihrer Führung wird Deutschland sein Ziel erreichen, Heimat zu sein.
Heimat zu sein.
Heimat zu sein. Für alle Deutschen der Welt.
All the Deutschers in the world, right? All the Germans in the world. We're gonna make a Heimat, a homeland. Yeah, right. What a great word to name our national security system. I'm chilled every time I hear that. Having lived in Germany for a year and known some actual Nazis. Anyhow, Brenda in Tampa, Florida. Hey, Brenda, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. Sorry, I'm going a little bit away from that topic. I want to make commentary. Okay, I want to make commentary on how we treat poor people in this country. I have a brother who is disabled, who's been disabled all his life since he was a kid. He wasn't able to work enough to get Social Security when he turned 65, so now he's been on Social Security disability all his life. Mm-hmm. So another brother of mine died from COVID and left him about $3,500 in life insurance. Mm-hmm. So yesterday he received a letter from Social Security Disability that his check is in jeopardy. They're either going to cut it or they're going to take it away from him altogether for a certain period of time.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So just a commentary on how we treat poor people in this country.
Right. You're not allowed to have a little bit of extra money. Sorry, you're supposed to be poor if you want to get these benefits. Brenda, have you called your member of Congress? Typically, they have even the Republicans, they have somebody whose job is what's called constituent services, and they can intervene with federal agencies like the Social Security Administration on your behalf?
Okay, well, he's in a different state than I am, but I certainly will look into that.
You could call whoever would be his representative.
Right.
And just, argue his case and say, this is what's going on, and can you intervene, or is there anything that we can do? I'm so sorry to hear this.
Exactly.
But you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
this is built into our system. It's punitive, essentially.
Yes, it is. Dying from COVID, and it'll be a lot of people in this situation who will inherit a little bit of life insurance and yet be penalized.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Brenda, thank you for sharing that story. That's remarkable. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, good talking to you. Diane in Little Rock, Arkansas. Hey, Diane, you've been watching the hearings this morning on the Larry Nassar and the sexual abuse of the gymnasts?
Yes, and it goes back to the incompetence of the FBI. Also, the role the FBI played when Trump was president, and the insurrection. Where has Christopher Wray been? And are there Trump sympathizers still in the FBI? Maybe Christopher Wray needs to resign. We need a clean house. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. I think you can take that to the bank, Diane, that there are still Trump sympathizers in the FBI, as there are in law enforcement agencies all across the United States. And you're right, Chris Wray was put into the position of director of FBI by Donald Trump. And, I've been saying from the beginning of the Biden administration that he needs to clean house and get somebody new in there in the FBI. We have what we have. Maybe this will be something that pushes. I wasn't able to watch the hearings because I was on the air, but maybe this is something that will push it over the edge. I don't know. We'll see. Diane, thank you. Michael in Saginaw, Michigan. Hey, Michael, what's on? Oh, Michael, hang on just a minute. I'm sorry. I'm going to hit a break in 2 seconds here. In fact, there it is. Michael, I'll pick up your call in the next hour if you'll just hang around. My apologies. You need to watch the clock when you do talk radio. My apologies. We will be right. No, it's all good. It's all on me. We will be right back. I want to continue the conversation here, as it were, about Fox News and freedom, and why can't the rest of us have the freedom that they have at Fox? I'll tell you about that.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More information at HelloFresh.com, code TOM. CB Distillery for sleeping and pain relief. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. Dinovite, only the best all-natural pet supplements. More info at dinovite.com. Annie's Kit Clubs, creativity delivered right to your door. More info at annieskitclubs.com/Tom. Wild Alaskan Company, delicious, sustainably sourced seafood delivered right to your door. More information at wildalaskancompany.com/Tom. And Mack Weldon, reinventing men's basics. More info at mackweldon.com/Tom.
We say fight back!
I would like to have a conversation with those of you who have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV. In fact, in particular, to those of you who have never contributed to Free Speech TV. I see you. I know you're out there. How about helping out, huh? There's two ways you can help. Number one, help bring in new viewers. Let people know about Free Speech TV. Get friends of yours, look for programs that you think will really resonate with your friends and tell them about it. We need to expand the viewer base of Free Speech TV, number one. Number two, call 877-378-8669 and say, finally, I've been watching this show or I've been watching this network for years and years and years, or months and months and months, whatever it may be, and I've finally decided that I'm going to help out, that I want to be part of the solution, as it were, and make a contribution. It's painless, relatively speaking. It doesn't hurt. It's not having teeth pulled, to give your credit card number or mail a check in or whatever, however is easiest for you. But Free Speech TV is sustained by its viewers. And one of the things that we know is that the vast majority of viewers, well over 90%, probably well over 95%, and this is not unique to Free Speech TV, this is true of all viewer or listener-supported media right across the board, never help out, never kick in.
There's a lot of folks who just, enjoy the program, but think, it just kind of magically happens. And that's the thing. If you want, watered down coverage that is highly sensationalized and that doesn't take on tough issues that might chafe the opinions or the attitudes or hurt the feelings, shall we say, of the insurance industry or the pharmaceutical industry or whoever happens to be advertising on TV these days, then you've got commercial television. And you don't have to pay to watch commercial television outside of your cable fees or whatever it may be. But if you want to have an actual discussion of real topics that may not, that may cause some discomfort in corporate boardrooms or a little dyspepsia among the billionaire class, it's going to require all of us to make that happen. And that includes you, who have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV. So let me encourage you to make your very first contribution to Free Speech TV today. Chip in, help out. Become part of the solution. It doesn't mean you're part of the problem if you don't, but become part of the solution. Free Speech TV is part of the solution to what ails America, is waking people up, spreading good, solid, verifiable, honest information. We are so rigorous here about making sure that everything we say can be backed up. And on the occasion when I get something wrong, I go out of my way to make it clear on the air. Oops, I said this wrong. Here's the correction. Yesterday, I got Medicare Part A and B mixed up. Checked it during the break, corrected it afterwards, for example. So, if you value that, if that's a value to you, have that kind of a resource to use, whether it's debating crazy Uncle George or just knowing what's going on in the world, please pick up your phone right now and call 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV and help keep this network going. There are premiums. With a $20 gift, you have your choice between the Free Speech TV sticky sticker or the Free Speech TV clingy sticker, the kind of window sticker, the clear sticker. With a $50 gift, there's the very cool Free Speech TV canvas tote bag in 2 different models. With a $75 gift, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Thom Hartmann Program, the official Free Speech TV Thom Hartmann Program mug, available only right here, right now. With a $100 gift, there is the Free Speech TV customized notebook and pen or the Free Speech TV socks. With a $120 gift, there is a copy of my book, my new book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, how sickness bankrupts you and makes others insanely rich, autographed by the author, or the Free Speech TV t-shirt. It's with a $120 gift. With a $240 gift, join us on Zoom, on a Zoom call, for a virtual meet and greet, kind of an Ask Tom Anything moment. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University gift box, the socks, the bumper sticker, the Hidden History of Healthcare, autographed by the author, the Free Speech TV mug, and the hat. And with a $1,000 gift, there is the get-together here in Portland that, wow, it's been like a year and a half since we've done one of these, but they're always so fun and so interesting, and I get to meet some really great people, and you will too, once the general COVID insanity is over. So you can get in line. 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your donation during this program while we're on the air. 877-378-8669 is the number. But please, in particular, I know that those, many of you have already given to Free Speech TV, and you know that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling that you get, that feeling like, wow, I'm like kind of an owner of this network. I'm a participant in it. I'm helping make this happen. Well, to those of you who have not yet donated, do it now and get that feeling.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Welcome back to our third hour. Fox News has freedom.
Why can't the rest of America have freedom like Fox News has? Freedom, you say? What are you talking about, Mr. Hartmann? Well, here's the deal. Fox News is 90% fully vaccinated, and they have instituted daily COVID tests for that 10% who are not yet fully vaccinated. By fully vaccinated, we mean they had both shots more than 6 weeks ago. Why is this? Because Fox News has a vaccine passport. Yes, seriously. At the same time that Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham and all the other idiots over there are going on the air going, vaccines? I don't know. Yeah, magnetic, DNA, RNA. At the same time that's going on, everybody at Fox News is now well vaccinated. Of course, Rupert Murdoch, the guy who owns Fox News, even jumped the line to get his vaccine. He didn't just say, hey, everybody should get vaccinated. He actually got a vaccine before it was available to the general public. So the people who own Fox News, the people who run Fox News, the people who work at Fox News, the people who are on the air at Fox News, they're all totally vaccinated, totally good with it. One of them yesterday on the Fox and Friends, the morning show, said, yeah, I'm vaccinated because I knew that if I didn't get vaccinated, I would. This wasn't a Fox guy. It was some reporter or so. Actually, I think it was a Fox reporter. If I didn't get vaccinated, I wouldn't have been able to participate in the president's, it wasn't the press briefings, but it was something like that, something having to do with it. Yeah, you poor guy, right? It's so sad. You just had to get vaccinated. And that's the thing. When you have to get vaccinated in order to get your paycheck, which is what Joe Biden is proposing to happen in every company in the country that has more than 100 employees, then guess what? Most people say, sure. Right? I may not think that I'm at huge risk for tetanus or whatever, but, if my doctor says, hey, you got to have, or if my employer in particular said, hey, you've got to be vaccinated, or if I want to go to school, measles, things like that. So, this is, and this, by the way, this brings up not only the fact that Fox News has this and the rest of us don't, but also the definition of freedom. What does freedom mean? I mean, does freedom mean you can say, no, I don't want a vaccine in the middle of a pandemic? Or does freedom mean that you should be free to go to a concert, to go to a football game, to go to a restaurant, to go to the theater, to go to a flea market or an outdoor food vending place or a farmer's market, and not be afraid that some idiot next to you is going to breathe virus all over you? I mean, isn't that what it boils down to? Denmark, as I mentioned yesterday, Denmark last Friday announced the end to the COVID crisis. There are 13 people in Denmark still on respirators, or there were as of 2 days ago. 13 in the whole country. Now, I realize it's a smaller country. It's about 6 million people. But they got with the program early on. At the very beginning of the COVID crisis, they started wearing masks and socially distancing so they didn't get wiped out. And then as soon as the vaccines became available at the beginning of this year, they vaccinated everybody in sight. And in March of this year, way back in March, I mean, we're going into the fall here. And boy, is it turning fall here in Portland. I'm guessing it probably is where you live too. And I'm loving it. It's just beautiful. But anyhow, and hopefully we'll get some rain. We have 5 months of drought. But as we're going into the fall here, we look all the way back to the spring, the early spring, March. And the Biden administration was asking people to get vaccinated. Donald Trump, yes, Operation Warp Speed helped fund the Moderna vaccine. Not a penny of Trump and Operation Warp Speed's money went to Pfizer, but they did help fund Moderna and Johnson & Johnson. But then when Trump left office, he left no plan whatsoever to vaccinate the American public, and he had only ordered 100 million doses of vaccine. And there are 340 million people in the United States, about 270 million adults, and as I recall, and everybody needs 2 shots. That's 500 million doses.
And Trump had only ordered 100 million. So Biden had to hit the ground running in January. And throughout January and February, he got that vaccine. He got it available. He got the government involved. He got them, they set up vaccination play. The one here in Portland I went to, there were National Guard people there, along with volunteer nurses administering shots. And then the Republican Party, of course, this pandemic hurt Donald Trump. It's the reason he didn't get reelected. It's the reason Republicans didn't get reelected. It's why we lost the control of the House and Senate, because the economy went in the crapper because of the pandemic. And, turnabout is fair play. So we're going to do to Joe Biden what nature did to us. So as President Biden is doing his best to get everybody in America vaccinated so that we can open up like Denmark did last Friday. As Joe Biden is doing his best, the Republicans are doing their best, and Fox News, right-wing hate radio, doing their best to spread fear of the vaccine, skepticism about the vaccine, alternatives to the vaccine. Hey, did you know that you could take this horse paste? It'll work just fine. Skepticism about the vaccine, alternatives to the vaccine. They're spreading this stuff all over. People say social media. It's really basically Facebook. And they're bringing, there's a lot of gullible people out there. There's a lot of people who actually listen to Fox News or listen to One America News or listen to Newsmax or listen to right-wing hate radio. In most of America, if you don't have a Sirius XM receiver, right-wing hate radio is the only thing you can hear if you turn on your car radio. And in rural areas, people drive a lot. You have to drive, it's a hour drive just to go to the grocery store. What are you going to do? Listen to the radio. What are you going to hear? Right-wing hate radio. There's not a single progressive station in Wyoming. Not one, for example. So people listen to that and they go, oh, yeah, okay. By the way, today it was in the news, the 6th right-wing hate radio host has died in America of COVID. And, I'm not, no schadenfreude here. I am not happy about this, and I'm not celebrating it. I think it's a tragedy. And I do have to say that at least these guys, unlike the Republicans in the House of Representatives, who are all vaccinated, and yet half of them refuse to disclose their vaccine status. These guys on talk radio apparently actually believed what they're selling because they took it to their death. There's a certain integrity in that, I suppose. But the Danes are free right now of COVID. Life is back to normal in Denmark without masks because everybody's vaccinated, everybody who's, over 12. And the people under 12, by and large, you get a rare serious case, but it's very rare. Just like, with the flu or measles or anything else. So why can't we have that freedom? We can't have that freedom because of these idiots at Fox News. I mean, it's breathtaking. It's just breathtaking. They're all vaccinated. They're all required to be vaccinated. Yet I'm not hearing Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham going on television tonight talking about, this Rupert Murdoch and his son Lachlan who own this company have required us to all get vaccinated. They're tyrants. We're tired of this tyranny. No, I'm not hearing that. Are you? Well, I'm not watching Fox News either. Maybe that has something to do with it, but I doubt it.
This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
We would like freedom here in the United States. That comes from health, right? If you don't have your health, you got nothing. Let's get healthy. Let's get vaccinated. And welcome back. Heyman in Sacramento, California. Hey, Heyman, what's up?
Tom, I'm a donator to Free Speech TV. But, you just demonstrated my point, and it's my belief right now that we're still called United States of America. We are DSA, Divided States of America. We have the red states and the blue states. We can't agree on anything. we were the United States of America, I guess back in 1941 when Pearl Harbor was attacked. Everybody the states got together. We were supporting the war effort. We were united. We were the United States of America. It started back there in 41, and it went until about 1990. When Ronald Reagan came in 1980 or so, and the right-wing media came on, attacking everything that this country had developed and was promoting, they found fault with everything. They divided this country, and they were successful. So right now we have the pandemic. We have wildfires, hurricanes, tornadoes, the Afghanistan troop removal with climate change. None of this brings us together. Nobody, one side is picking on the other side. They find fault, or they attack, or they disagree with everything that supports the people. This country is now DSA.
So, Heyman, do you have a suggestion for how to fix that?
I don't know. I don't see what will bring us together. We have tragedies all over the place. Mm-hmm. With the pandemic should bring us together, but the one side is trying to eliminate the disease. The other side is just finding fault.
Yeah.
I mean, they have no suggestion.
Well, the good news, I think, Heyman, is in your own state. I mean, you're in Sacramento, the capital of California, and California just overwhelmingly either embraced their current governor, Gavin Newsom, or they just rejected right-wing Trump wannabe talk show host Larry Elder,
yes.
Or both, obviously. But the exit polling indicates that the COVID response, Gavin Newsom's response to COVID, was a big part of why they voted for him. They thought he was doing the right thing. He's protecting Californians. California does have hospitals that are hitting ICU capacity, but they tend to be in red counties. I mean, we've got the same problem here in Oregon. You've got people come, from the red counties who are having the hospitals in red counties in Oregon are sending, their sick people into Portland, into the hospitals because they're maxed out. And now we've got them coming from Idaho. Idaho's the next state over to the east of us, and they have one of the lowest vaccination rates in the nation, and their people with COVID are being kicked out of their hospitals, or they have no room for them, and they're sending them into the hospitals in Oregon, which is just nuts. We need to get vaccinated. Heyman, thank you for the call. I think we're less divided than we think, frankly. I think an awful lot of this is, at the surface of social media and the news. We'll be right back. Share the Thom Hartmann Program with your friends. We're available on SiriusXM, Free Speech TV, Pacifica, commercial stations nationwide, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, on the Thom Hartmann app, and you can even tell your smart speaker to listen to the Thom Hartmann Program. We try to have a lot of content over at ThomHartmann.com, and of course, every day my daily rant goes up at HartmannReport.com. No advertising, no fee or anything like that. You can even get it pushed out to your email box for free. But we also have podcasts available that are free through wherever your favorite podcast provider may be, or the full 3-hour program. It's a 1-hour podcast, the one that's free out there. There's also the 3-hour podcast available at ThomHartmann.com. And we have a special video this week for supporters of the Thom Hartmann Program. It's over at ThomHartmann.com about the 62 worst members of the U.S. House of Representatives and Josh Hawley in the Senate. These are the people who voted against the COVID-19 Hate Crimes Act, which passed the Senate and the House overwhelmingly. But these 62 members of the House did what is just awful. You can check it out at ThomHartmann.com.
It's 21 minutes past the hour. Geeky science alert. 56% of young people think humanity is doomed. And there's some real problematic stuff in this study. This is a study that was just published of 10,000 young people across 10 countries. It was published in the British journal Lancet. They're kind of, sort of like the journal of the AMA. Lancet is arguably the most respected medical publication in the world. And like JAMA, they've spun off some secondary publications. This is Lancet Planetary Health, which is one of them. And what they found is pretty shocking. The lead author of the study, Carolyn Hickman from the University of Bath, said, "Our children's anxiety is a completely rational reaction given the inadequate responses to climate change we're seeing from governments. What more do governments need to take action?" Here are some of the numbers. 45% of 16 to 25-year-olds said climate-related anxiety and distress is affecting their daily lives and their ability to function normally. Almost half of all young people between 16 and 25. Almost 60% of the 10,000 young people attributed this to their national governments. In other words, our government isn't doing enough, I'm freaking out. 56% of these young people surveyed said they agreed with the statement that humanity is doomed, while 75% they said they believe the future is frightening. And where it gets really bad, unfortunately, is these videos and the sales pitch that is being made by people, and it's apparently very big on TikTok right now, saying, it's all over. Sorry, it's done, it's cooked, humanity is dead, we're all gonna die, give it up. Which is exactly the message the fossil fuel companies want you to hear. Elena Wood is a TikTok creator and a sustainability scientist, and she said, she's talking about this dystopian, there's a video out there called Inside by Bo Burnham, which basically says that, and they're spreading what they call climate nihilism. The nihilism, we're all gonna die, why bother with anything, right? And that's essentially it. And she says, young people have seen these climate nihilism videos, and they believe it's too late to do anything about the climate crisis, so they decide to stop pushing for climate action. As I said, exactly what the fossil fuel industry wants. She goes on to say, I've made numerous videos discussing climate anxiety and debunking climate nihilism, and I receive daily comments thanking me for putting a name, climate anxiety, to how they feel. By the way, the study found that these young people are experiencing guilt, anger, grief, and despair. It's showing up in social withdrawal, sleep problems, concentration problems, and other, just common symptoms of just normal anxiety. The authors of the study say public discourse should encourage the expression of feelings that 60% of young people in this survey have described as being ignored or dismissed. And then they go on to say, we argue that the failure of government to adequately reduce, prevent, or mitigate climate change is contributing to psychological distress, moral injury, and injustice. 56% of young people think we're doomed. I mean, that is just terrible. Anyhow, picking up your phone calls, Vivian in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hey, Vivian, what's on your mind today?
Oh, hi. I'm supposed to follow that. No, I just want to make a couple of comments about freedom. First of all, our culture, we have trouble dealing with abstract nouns. But I get a couple of things that occurred to me recently. The Eagles did a song called Desperado, and at one part of the song they say, what is freedom? Oh, that's just some people talking. And then a quote that you had on your show about Teddy Roosevelt, a necessitous man is not free, and so if you don't have shelter, you don't have food, you hook up to a ventilator, you're not free.
Right. That was Franklin Roosevelt, by the way, but yes, absolutely.
Oh, I thought it was Teddy. Sorry.
Yeah, it was Franklin. That was from a speech he gave in 1936 in Philadelphia, where he was running for re-election. And he said, an old judge once said, a necessitous man is not a free man. Absolutely right, and it's true. And we need to recalibrate our language, Vivian. We need to start making it, helping people to understand that if you are unemployed, you're not free. If you're unemployed and broke and you have no way of getting out of it and there's no job that you can find, you're not free. If you're homeless, you're not free. If you don't have enough to eat, you're not free. If you are in fear of a deadly pandemic that's running around the country and people around you are refusing to get vaccinated, you're not free. Freedom is a positive thing, not just a lack of taxes or a lack of the government putting a gun in your face or somebody else. If you live in an area where you're plagued by crime, you're not free. And so I think the role of government in promoting freedom has to be one that is positive, that is active, and communities shouldn't have to be basically gating themselves off because of a homeless problem or a crime problem. That's a symptom of a lack of freedom in my mind. Vivian, thank you for the call. Very, very well said. We'll be right back right after this break here at the bottom of the hour. It's 27 minutes past the hour on the Thom Hartmann Program, the place where despair is not an option. We have to get active. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Thom Hartmann Program. Call 202-808-9925.
Back with your calls on Talk Media for the sane among us. I would like to have a conversation with those of you who have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV. In fact, in particular, to those of you who have never contributed to Free Speech TV. I see you. I know you're out there. How about helping out, huh? There's two ways you can help. Number one, help bring in new viewers. Let people know about Free Speech TV. Get friends of yours, look for programs that you think will really resonate with your friends and tell them about it. We need to expand the viewer base of Free Speech TV, number one. Number two, call 877-378-8669 and say, finally, I've been watching this show or I've been watching this network for years and years and years, or months and months and months, whatever it may be, and I've finally decided that I'm going to help out. That I want to be part of the solution, as it were, and make a contribution. It's painless, relatively speaking. It doesn't hurt. It's not like having teeth pulled, to give your credit card number or mail a check in or whatever, however is easiest for you. But Free Speech TV is sustained by its viewers, and one of the things that we know is that the vast majority of viewers, well over 90%, probably well over 95%, and this is not unique to Free Speech TV, this is true of all viewer or listener-supported media right across the board, never help out, never kick in. There's a lot of folks who just, enjoy the program, but think, it just kind of magically happens. And that's the thing. If you want, watered down coverage that is highly sensationalized and that doesn't take on tough issues that might chafe the opinions or the attitudes or hurt the feelings, shall we say, of the insurance industry or the pharmaceutical industry or whoever happens to be advertising on TV these days, then you've got commercial television. And you don't have to pay to watch commercial television outside of your cable fees or whatever it may be. But if you want to have an actual discussion of real topics that may not, that may cause some discomfort in corporate boardrooms or a little dyspepsia among the billionaire class, it's going to require all of us to make that happen. And that includes you, who have not yet contributed to Free Speech TV. So let me encourage you to make your very first contribution to Free Speech TV today. Chip in, help out. Become part of the solution. It doesn't mean you're part of the problem if you don't, but become part of the solution. Free Speech TV is part of the solution to what ails America, is waking people up, spreading good, solid, verifiable, honest information. We are so rigorous here about making sure that everything we say can be backed up And on the occasion when I get something wrong, I go out of my way to make it clear on the air. Oops, I said this wrong. Here's the correction. Yesterday, I got Medicare Part A and B mixed up. Checked it during the break, corrected it afterwards. For example. So, if you value that, if that's a value to you, have that kind of a resource to use, whether it's debating crazy Uncle George or just knowing what's going on in the world, please pick up your phone right now and call 877-378-8669, 877-378-8669, and make your contribution to Free Speech TV and help keep this network going. There are premiums. With a $20 gift, you have your choice between the Free Speech TV sticky sticker or the Free Speech TV clingy sticker, the kind of window sticker, the clear sticker. With a $50 gift, there's the very cool Free Speech TV canvas tote bag in 2 different models. With a $75 gift, you have your choice of the Free Speech TV hat or the Thom Hartmann Program, the official Free Speech TV Thom Hartmann Program mug, available only right here, right now. With a $100 gift, there is the Free Speech TV customized notebook and pen or the Free Speech TV socks. With a $120 gift, there is a copy of my book, my new book, The Hidden History of American Healthcare, how sickness bankrupts you and makes others insanely rich, autographed by the author, or the Free Speech TV t-shirt. It's with a $120 gift. With a $240 gift, join us on Zoom, on a Zoom call, for a virtual meet and greet, kind of an Ask Tom Anything moment. With a $360 gift, there's the Thom Hartmann University gift box, the socks, the bumper sticker, the Hidden History of Healthcare, autographed by the author, the Free Speech TV mug, and the hat. And with a $1,000 gift, there is the get-together here in Portland that, wow, it's been like a year and a half since we've done one of these, but they're always so fun and so interesting, and you get to meet some really great people, and you will too, once the general COVID insanity is over. So you can get in line. 877-378-8669, or you can go to freespeech.org and make your donation during this program while we're on the air. 877-378-8669 is the number. But please, in particular, I know that those, many of you have already given to Free Speech TV, and that kind of warm, fuzzy feeling that you get, that feeling like, wow, I'm like kind of an owner of this network. I'm a participant in it. I'm helping make this happen. Well, to those of you who have not yet donated, do it now and get that feeling. Missed my opening rant today? It's usually published over at HartmannReport.com, where you can read it and share it with your friends for free. Check it out, HartmannReport.com. We're trying to provide the very best content that we can for you at Hartmann Report and over at ThomHartmann.com. And on Hartmann Report, every day, 6 days a week, I write an op-ed. Very often they're my rants, also for the radio and television program. And it's ad-free, commercial-free. It's free. You can sign up. It'll get pushed into your email box. Check it out at HartmannReport.com. And, of course, over at ThomHartmann.com, we have our weekly video that we put up every week that does a deeper dive for people who are members of our program of ThomHartmann.com. And the one this week is about this Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction, SIGAR, their new report that almost 20 million Afghans are on the verge of starvation and nobody's talking about it. Check it out at ThomHartmann.com. And welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you and Fred in LaPorte, Indiana. Hey, Fred, what's on your mind today?
Well, I want to give you a testimony on why you should get the vaccine.
Okay.
I'm 82 years old. I got a little emphysema, COPD. February and March, I got my 2 Moderna shots. 4 days ago, I was diagnosed with COVID-19.
Oh, my.
Now, the thing is, I listened to the scientists, which I don't think a lot of people are doing, and they said it's possible for you to get it, even if you've had the shots.
Right.
So I am a test.
It's called a breakthrough infection, yeah. How do you feel, Fred?
I'm not in the hospital.
Yeah.
I'm at home in self-quarantine, sitting here talking to Thom Hartmann.
Yep.
And I don't know why these people are listening to, and I got a little rub with you on this, well, you keep calling it Fox News. I wish you'd call it Fox Network.
Yeah, well, you know, that's their brand name. In print, I always put quotation marks around the word news.
Okay.
And on air, I used to always call it Fox so-called news, but it just got, you know, kind of tiring after a while. But anyhow.
It's like scraping your fingernails on the blackboard when you say that to me.
I get it. I'm sorry, Fred.
But
so how are you feeling? Tell me what this breakthrough infection has been like for you.
Well, I started off with I thought I was having a sinus infection because I do have sinus, and I thought maybe something pollinated or what, but I had terrible runny nose and just drip, 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 and coughing. And then the next day, that was a Friday night, the next day I just felt terrible, plus the drippy nose and the coughing. And then I went on. I was supposed to go to a birthday party with my granddaughter, and I just said I couldn't go. And then my son and his wife come over and took me to the emergency room, and they diagnosed it as COVID, and just told me to take plenty of stuff to keep the temperature down, which the temperature's down now. I am better. My nose quit dripping, and but I just get exhausted. Oh, real fast. I just can't hardly do anything.
Yeah.
But I wish these people would listen to the scientists and quit listening to this other.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy. I mean, the odds are that you're not going to have any lasting consequence of this, that you will have super immunity after this, and that, as you said, you're not in the hospital, you know, and you're not dead. And you know,
if I hadn't had the shots, maybe I'd be in there in a bed that was needed by somebody that had a heart attack or a stroke, was in a terrible car accident or something.
Exactly.
And we got to do this not just for ourselves. We got to do this for other people.
That's the whole point.
And this thing of good for me and to hell with everybody else, I just don't know where that's coming from so bad. I just see it more and more and more.
Well, it came out of the Reagan Revolution. The greed is good. The me, me, me. I mean, that is the essence of the Reagan Revolution. It's in business. It was, you're no longer here to serve your customers, your community, and your employees. You are now here to serve your stockholders. Profit is the only thing that matters. And I mean, Margaret Thatcher said it, right? In 1978, she said, there's no such thing as society. There is only a collection of individuals. And in saying that, she was echoing Milton Friedman of the Chicago School. This is the neoliberal attitude. And it's like, if they have this belief that if everybody acts with maximum selfishness, that will somehow create a society that works with maximum efficiency. And yeah.
Well, like I said,
we've been doing it for 40 years.
I'm too old to buy that. I'm glad that wasn't the attitude back in 1941 when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor.
Amen. Fred, I got to move along, but thank you for the report. Thanks for the call. Thanks for the testimonial, and I wish you the very best. I hope you're feeling better, and check in with us in a week or so, okay? Okay, thanks a lot, Fred. Russell in Houston, Texas. Hey, Russell, what's on your mind?
Thank you for having me. I was.
Are you guys getting just drenched right now? Or was that yesterday?
It wasn't as bad as you might think.
Okay, good.
But the infrastructure is bad.
Yeah, I heard there's like 500,000 people without power in Texas as a result of this storm.
Yes. No flooding, but the infrastructure's bad, and let's not talk about last February.
Yeah, because it's all privatized infrastructure, and yeah. But you wanted to talk about Fox News. What's up?
Well, I was going to make an analogy that, like, if you go to your neighbor's house and he stabs you with a paring knife, you go home and you put a Band-Aid on it. And the next day, you go to your neighbor's house, he stabs you with a paring knife, he put a Band-Aid on it. When does the epiphany come up that, like, hey, I shouldn't go to my neighbor's house?
In other words, why don't people figure out that watching Fox News is causing them and their friends to die?
Yes.
And from COVID and get sick? Yeah, it's a good analogy. I get it.
But why do they keep going back? I guess we got OAN and
Yeah. Oh, they're spreading it. It's like they're reproducing like rabbits. Russell, I got to move along, but thank you for the call. That's a good one. Emily in Portland. I keep thinking, Russell. Emily in Portland, Oregon. Hey, Emily, what's on your mind today?
Hi, Tom. This occurred to me yesterday, and I'm curious about your reaction. What if some of the families of these folks who've died unvaccinated of COVID either get together or singly decide to sue these fake networks for wrongful death? Here they are telling people not to get vaccinated, especially when they themselves are vaccinated. And, and these people go to their death thinking that they did the right thing. I mean, if I had a family member, I'd try to sue. I just don't get it. I think, it's like Dominion in a sense. They've ruined their lives. Yeah. And the families will suffer forever.
I get it, Emily, and I'm not a lawyer. I can't parse that too deeply, but what I can say is that the Supreme Court historically has held that of all the different ways that free speech can be expressed, or that speech can be expressed freely, when it comes to the political realm, that's where you have your maximum ability to express free speech. So the extent to which
this isn't political, this is medical.
Because it's not so much. You're not going to hear on Fox News that the vaccine is going to alter your DNA or is going to make magnets stick to your forehead. You may hear that in other places. What you're going to hear on Fox News is forcing you to take the vaccine as a form of tyranny, which is a political argument.
Well, I don't know. I don't know, Tom. I mean, I think some of these announcers, some of the people there have been pretty darn close. Yeah. And if not, maybe Fox News, maybe some of the other media sources. And for that matter, what about some of our government, some of our senators and Congress people? They're spouting the same garbage too. Yeah. And if I were a constituent and my representative said, "Oh no, don't get the vaccine. It's bad for you," and then my husband died, I'd be pretty PO'd.
Yeah, I would too, and I would probably be thinking about doing something about it. But Emily, it's a great question, and time will tell. You would think though that if it was a viable strategy or a possible strategy, it would have happened long before now. But we'll see. Emily, thank you for the call. Henry in San Antonio. Hey, Henry, thanks for listening to SiriusXM. What's up?
Hey, Tom. Not all utilities in Texas are privately owned.
Really?
We're socialists here in San Antonio. CPS Energy is owned by the city. All the employees are members of IBEW, and they all make a good living. It's very dependable here, and we have some of the lowest rates in Texas.
Wow.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, when the government owns the means of production, there's a word for that, isn't there?
Yeah, it would have been called communism or socialism at one time. Yeah, but
Yeah, by the way,
you could say the same thing about your fire department. Anyhow, back to you, Henry. By the way,
the utility kicks back about 14% of their profits into the city budget, which lowers our taxes.
Wow.
So, if that's not socialism, I don't know what socialism means. But then again, I would not be alone in not knowing what socialism means, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do. I absolutely know what you mean. Henry, thanks for the enlightenment about San Antonio and for defending your fair city. That's great news that you've got a power system that actually works, that is community owned. We should have those all over the United States. We did at one time. Most power in the United States used to be generated by community-owned systems. Not so much anymore since the Reagan Revolution.
You're listening to Thom Hartmann. Visit ThomHartmann.com for audio and video archives.
Back with more of your calls right after this. Stick around. And welcome back. Sandra in Omaha, Nebraska. Hey, Sandra, thanks for watching us on Free Speech TV. On YouTube, excuse me. What's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted to respond to the comment about like half of young people think the world is doomed because of climate issues and whatnot.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to offer a little rebut to that. My dad was born during World War I, grew up during a depression when people were on the move all over the country trying to find some place that they could land, some place that they could call home, that they could survive in. He went off to war as a young man. And so much of his early life until he was 30 was pretty doom and gloom.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody pitched in. Everybody saw the next issue and thought, shoulder to the metal, babe, and we're gonna fight this.
Yep.
We're gonna win. We're gonna overcome this. This is not gonna bring us down. And I think they need to start looking at, the world has always had bad moments, bad times that have lasted for decades. And we need them. We need their creativity and their imagination to fight this.
I agree. And as I said, this climate nihilism, this, we're doomed, just screw it, let's stop even talking about it. That is exactly what the fossil fuel industry wants us to be doing.
Yeah, and eventually they're going to run out of customers if they continue with that bet. So
yeah, well,
when we're all gone, they won't have any customers.
Planet.
So
yeah.
The option is to do what we can, turn things around, and make this world a better place.
Yeah, I'm with you. Thank you very much. Very well said, Sandra. Appreciate the call. Stephen in New York City. Hey, Stephen, what's up?
Hey, Tom. The Fox and Fiends guest that you couldn't think of who it was, that would be Texas Representative Dr. Feelgood. You remember the White House physician?
Oh, yeah, Ronnie, what's his name?
Ronnie Jackson, I think.
Jackson, yeah, that's it.
He was crying that he would never have gotten a shot but Nancy Pelosi made him get it, or else he couldn't go on congressional junkets.
Right.
So,
right.
But also, regarding this twit colonel who's quitting, scare quotes, the military, he probably doesn't.
Rather than get vaccinated, you mean?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The word GI means government issue, and he knows this. And I'm a veteran. When I was in, one weekend I came back from going to the beach and had a pretty bad sunburn and was threatened with Article 15, which is non-judicial punishment for destruction of government property. So, also,
you being the government property, right?
Exactly. So when you roll up your sleeve after you get sworn in, they take this air gun, which probably has 15 to 20 vaccines in it, and they just blast it right into you. So these people, first of all, I don't know why President Biden doesn't get up there and say, explain exactly what GI is and why he is not going to, and why he should put a mandate for everybody to get vaccinated in this country, because we have to beat this, and the only way is to get vaccinated, period.
Yeah. Well, he's awful close to that. He doesn't have the legal authority to require everybody to get vaccinated, but he does have the legal authority, using the Commerce Clause of the Constitution, to require businesses to require their employees to be vaccinated, which is what he's done. So he's using the tools that are available to him, and that's going to take care of probably 80% of the adult population in the United States, which is maybe 70, but whatever it is, it's a good thing. And, and Fox News proves that it works, right? I mean, if there are vaccine skeptics anywhere, they're at Fox News, and they are all vaccinated. Stephen, thank you. Thank you very much. And thanks for reminding me. It was Dr. Ronnie, Dr. Feelgood, Mr. Pill. Our 1 hour free podcast recaps our show, and it's available wherever fine podcasts are found. And we have the full 3 hour podcast available over at ThomHartmann.com if you want to really support our program. Hey, we have a couple of special things over at ThomHartmann.com and HartmannReport.com. Of course, at HartmannReport.com, every single day, well, 6 days a week, Sunday accepted, I write a rant about an issue of the day that I think is important. Louise and I work on these together. We get them out typically around 6 in the morning Pacific time. And you'll find that at HartmannReport.com. It's free. You can sign up for it. There's no ads, whatever. But also over at ThomHartmann.com, we have a video every week for the supporters of our program. And the one this week is about how Wisconsin is trying to remove, in fact, they just got permission from their Supreme Court to remove 188,000 people from the voting rolls because they haven't voted in 4 years. This highlights the importance of getting to know who is your state representative, who is your state senator, and communicating with them regularly. It's all over at HartmannReport.com and ThomHartmann.com. And welcome back. Let's pick up some of your phone calls here. Luigi in Pensacola, Florida. Hey, Luigi, what's up?
Hey, Tom, every time you speak of Fox News, I get my ire up. But anyway, I just wanted to pass on to you no, it's okay. It's really okay. And God bless that Fred. I hope he gets well.
Yeah.
But anyway, back in World War II in Australia, there was a chain of newspapers, and they were relentlessly anti-American, according to the folks that were there. One publication was called The Truth, and it was out of Melbourne. And it often published tales of GIs raping innocent Australian women, honest seduction, and it caused riots. It caused people to get killed. It caused all sorts of problems relations between Australia and the United States. And guess who the owner of that was? A guy by the name of Sir Keith Murdoch, father of the later-year media magnate Robert Murdoch.
Really?
So I just thought you might be... Yes,
I
sir.
thought it started with Rupert. I didn't realize he inherited the family business, and now his sons are going to inherit his family business. Amazing.
Well, that's what it seems to be. And I double-checked this, reading this book, and I just thought you might be interested in it. Also, I just noticed on Ross' story that the people who are unvaccinated are now wanting to be called purebloods.
Oh, jeez. Okay, yeah.
So,
thank you, Luigi.
Thank you, Tom, for everything you do, and thank you for taking this old man's phone calls and listening to my rants. Thanks to you.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot. Thanks for listening to Sirius XM, Luigi. I appreciate it down there in Pensacola. Sharon in Arlington, Texas. Hey, Sharon, what's on your mind today?
Hey, I have a friend whose their family situation really is disturbing to me. They have gone to extraordinary measures to try to shield their children from the virus, and they sent their second grader to school with wearing a mask, although it was really pretty much discouraged. And then, sure enough, he ends up with the virus because of assigned seating in the lunchroom, sat right next to a child who had picked up the virus, and now he's at home and very ill. He's not in the hospital, luckily so far, but, they're trying to keep him in his room for 10 days. And I just feel like the person who called up back that there ought to be some legal, measures that could be taken in a situation like that.
Yeah, let the lawyers sort it out. Like I said, time is going to tell how this shakes out, Sharon, but that's such a sad story. Thank you for sharing it with us. I appreciate the call. Al in Milwaukee. Hey, Al, what's up?
Yeah, Tom, in response to your discussion about the German term Heimat, in Decorah, Iowa, there is a museum called the Westerheim Museum, and it's dedicated to the Norwegian arts and crafts, rose mauling and acanthus leaf carving. They're absolute masters of it. Anyway, the term, I'd never thought of it, but finally it dawned on me, in terms of the German and the Teutonic language. Heimat was Westerheim was the term that the pioneers, the Norwegian pioneers used.
Our Western homeland.
The Western homeland.
The Western home. The Western Heimat. Yeah. Huh. Amazing.
Thing in Milwaukee here, you're talking about socialism. We refer to them as the old German socialists, and they started back in the 1800s, and I think they were in office until the 1950s. Fantastic people, and they developed things ahead of Social Security. I think FDR modeled, current Social Security and the various types of unemployment compensation. These were all in place because of these old German socialists that were the mayor was Dan Hohn in the beginning, and then
it was true right across the Midwest. It was right across. My grandfather, who was from a Norwegian. I mean, he came from Norway when he was like 10 years old or something like that. In 1914 to the United States.
My grandfather was just, a full-blown socialist, which is, I think, why my dad became a Republican. It's like children always rebel. But he was one of those Norwegian socialists, one of those Germanic, shall we say, socialists, because the Norwegians, the Swedes, and the Germans were all settling, the upper Midwest. This was up in Newaygo, Michigan.
People talk about how, socialism wouldn't work in the United States. Socialism doesn't work. There's no countries that are successful. Well, take a look at Norway and Denmark and Sweden. All those people are, I know people Americans who were employed. Was an engineer with Volvo, and half of his paycheck went to the government, but he was well satisfied with the kind of benefits that he got.
That's right. Life is good. Al, I got to run, but thank you. Thank you very much for that. And my apologies to everybody else on hold. We will pick up your calls tomorrow or the day after. And moving along here to tomorrow, it's the end of the day. Thanks so much for being with us today. And please don't forget, democracy is not a spectator sport. It requires all of us to pitch in. And now is a really important time to be reaching out to your elected politicians and letting them know what you think. 202-224-3121 is the Congressional Switchboard. Tag You're It. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great afternoon. Be good to yourself and the people around you. See you tomorrow.
You've been listening to Thom Hartmann. For audio and video archives, visit thomhartmann.com.
These companies support the Thom Hartmann Program. They are HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit delivery service. More information at hellofresh.com, code TOM. CB Distillery for sleeping and pain relief. More info at cbdistillery.com, code TOM. Dinovite, only the best all-natural pet supplements. More info at dinovite.com. Annie's Kit Clubs, creativity delivered right to your door. More info at annieskitclubs.com/Tom. Wild Alaskan Company, delicious, sustainably sourced seafood delivered right to your door. More information at wildalaskancompany.com/Tom. And Mack Weldon, reinventing men's basics. More info at mackweldon.com/Tom.